Hey everyone, we've updated our channel name from Chinese Novel Audio Wave to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Nothing else will be changing. We're still uploading a new video every day, bringing you the best Chinese novel audiobooks. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1176. That's perfect. One move will decide the outcome. Seeing that the emperors of the four dynasties had taken action, Emperor Lei Ting also immediately led all the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty out of the starship. However, just when Emperor Lei Ting and his men were about to leave the Star Destroyer, Emperor Lei Ting suddenly stopped, and then he issued an order to the War Dragon army to let some of the Star Destroyers turn their guns and aim at the emperors of the four dynasties. The number of emperors on both sides was quite different, and most of the emperors on the Great Xia Dynasty side were promoted by relying on the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty. Compared with the emperors of the Lingzhou Superstar Domain Group, their strength was weaker. If it was a head-on confrontation, the Great Xia Dynasty would have no advantage at all, but the Great Xia Dynasty had a lot of holy-level Star Destroyers, and the death rays fired by these Star Destroyers could consume the strength of the emperors of the four dynasties. After Emperor Lei Ting's order was issued, most of the holy-level Star Destroyers of the War Dragon army turned their guns and fired wildly at the emperors who were heading straight for them. For a moment, countless black beams shuttled through the universe. Those emperors knew that these black beams had terrible destructive power, so they were carefully avoiding them. Because of the long distance, basically all the emperors of the four dynasties coalition could easily avoid the death beams fired by the Holy Star Destroyer. This is also the biggest drawback of the Holy Star Destroyer. Although it is powerful, as long as the distance is too far, the emperors have enough time to react. Of course, the solution to this problem is also very simple. Seeing that the Star Destroyer could not attack those emperors, the War Dragon army took the initiative to fly towards those emperors. Soon, the Star Destroyer flew to the distance of less than 1 light year from those emperors. Attacking at this distance, and with so many Star Destroyers attacking at the same time, it is not so easy for those emperors to dodge. Soon, an emperor was hit by the death beam fired by the Star Destroyer. Although he barely avoided it, he was also seriously injured. Seeing that the Star Destroyer could seriously injure an emperor with one shot, this instantly made the emperors of the four dynasties coalition even more panicked. Emperor Dongyang said at this time, "Lingyun, Zhengyang, the three of us should find a way to destroy all the immortal boats of the Great Xia Dynasty. These immortal boats are too threatening to us." Emperor Tianlu is a trump card, reserved for dealing with the 6th level Emperor Shafa, so Emperor Dongyang is ready to let Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang take action first. In the eyes of Emperor Dongyang, as long as they take action against the immortal boats of the Great Xia Dynasty, the 6th level Emperor Shafa of the Great Xia Dynasty will definitely come out. This is indeed what Emperor Dongyang thought. Just as the three were about to attack the Great Xia Dynasty's Star Destroyer, a red figure appeared in front of the three and blocked their way. Seeing this strong evil spirit emanating from Empress Tianong, Emperor Dongyang knew that the real culprit had arrived, so he immediately said to Emperor Tianlu, "Tianlu, she is in your hands, find a way to hold her back." Emperor Tianlu did not speak, his figure flashed, and the next moment he appeared in front of Empress Tianong. He looked at Empress Tianong with a gloomy face. "Do you still remember me?" Empress Tianong glanced at Emperor Tianlu, and did not speak. The Emperor's sword floating beside her suddenly split into countless Emperor sword clones at this moment. Emperor Tianlu and Empress Tianong had fought in the outer domain, and knew that this was a sign that Empress Tianong was going to take action. And then he snorted again, "You are still the same as when you were in the outer domain. You take action at the slightest disagreement, but it's a pity that I am no longer the emperor of the past, and you are no longer the you of the past." Empress Tianong now has only the 6th level of the Great Emperor's cultivation, and Emperor Tianlu does not think he will lose to her again. The next moment, a heavenly grade spiritual sword appeared in the hand of Emperor Tianlu, and golden light appeared on his body. Soon, a piece of armor appeared outside his body. Not only that, all the magic weapons on Emperor Tianlu were activated at this moment, and for a moment, golden light was shining on his body. Although Emperor Tianlu believed that he would definitely be able to defeat Empress Tianong this time, he did not despise Empress Tianong in his heart. As soon as he came up, he took out all his trump cards. All he wanted was to get rid of Empress Tianong as soon as possible. Facing a murderous emperor like Empress Tianong, the longer he dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. He had to fight quickly. After the various magic weapons on Emperor Tianlu were activated, his strength rose again. Indistinctly, Emperor Tianlu seemed to have touched a wonderful threshold. He didn't know if it was the threshold of the Emperor of Heaven, but this feeling made him feel very comfortable. Like Emperor Tianlu, Empress Tianong also did not intend to waste too much time and was also ready to fight quickly. The next moment, the void around Empress Tianong quickly turned blood red. In a moment, Emperor Tianlu was surrounded by a blood-red world, and in this blood-red killing field, there was a huge blood-red moon. Seeing Empress Tianong using the killing field, Emperor Tianlu laughed. Since you also want to make a quick decision, that's perfect, one move will decide the outcome. While speaking, Emperor Tianlu's Dharma image appeared, holding a huge sword in his hand. Emperor Tianlu directly mobilized the power of swordsmanship and added all the power to the sword in his hand. Empress Tianong also released the killing power, and the blood-red killing power rushed into the clones of the Empress sword, and those clones of the Empress sword were also dyed blood-red by the killing power. The Dharma image of Emperor Tianlu raised the huge sword in his hand at this time. His figure trembled suddenly, and waves of sword power shook out from the Dharma image. Then he shouted, "Heaven and earth !" A sword was swung out, and a huge sword energy wrapped in the power of sword went straight to the Tianong Empress. At this time, the Tianong Empress slightly raised her hand, and countless Emperor sword clones in the sky gathered together and turned into a huge blood-red phoenix. The Tianong Empress shouted coldly, and the blood-red phoenix wrapped in the power of killing also went straight to the sword energy swung by Emperor Tianlu. When the sword energy and the blood phoenix condensed by the killing power collided, it exploded with a bang, and the entire killing field trembled. Soon, the killing field appeared with glass-like cracks. And the cracks in the killing field became more and more numerous and dense. When the contest between the power of sword and the killing power reached a critical point, the killing field of Empress Tianong also shattered at that moment. After seeing this scene from a distance, Lu Chen frowned slightly. He originally thought that Empress Tianong was enough alone. It seems that he still underestimated the Emperor of the 9th level. Lu Chen came directly to Empress Tianong without any hesitation. At this time, Empress Tianong's hair was messy, the killing power on her body was also very disordered, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. She looked a little embarrassed. Chapter 1177. Do you really think you can kill me? U003C ins U003E. After Lu Chen came to the back of the Emperor Tianong, he immediately supported the body of the Emperor Tianong with both hands. While using the power of life to treat the Emperor Tianong, he asked with concern, "Are you okay?" The Emperor Tianong did not answer the question of Lu Chen, and a pair of scarlet eyes looked at the smoke in the void in the distance. Taiwan Novel Network. At this time, the voice of Tianlu's laughter came from the smoke. "Ha ha ha ha, how about killing the road, and kill the avenue? In the face of the gap between the realm, even if the way to the way, there is no use." As the voice of Tianlu's words fell, the smoke of the Emperor of Tianlu instantly dissipated, and Emperor Tianlu also appeared. But at this time, the Emperor Tianlu was more embarrassed than the Empress of Tianong. The magic weapon used by Emperor Tianlu's body was all broken, and his clothes were also broken. He was wounds everywhere, his hair was scattered, and Chichao bleed. At this time, the Emperor Tianlu saw Lu Chen beside the Emperor Tianong. Suddenly the whole person was excited. He saw Lu Chen's projection screen in the information of the sparse, so he recognized Lu Chen at a glance. As long as he could kill Lu Chen, the crisis brought by the Great Xia Dynasty was completely over. At this time, Emperor Tianlu once again mobilized the power of Kendo. Although the Emperor Tianlu took over the attack of the Empress Tianong, his body was already on the verge of collapse. At this time, he used the power of Kendo, and his body also broke up under the erosion of the power of Kendo. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen laughed, and then said, "Your body can't hold it anymore. At this time, dare to do it." Emperor Tianlu laughed and said, "It's more than enough to kill you. To blame you, you can only blame you too stupid." Lu Chen said faintly, "Do you really think you can kill me?" While the Emperor Tianlu calmly calmed his torn kendo, he delayed his time. "No matter who you are, even if you were a real emperor, you are just a dual emperor now." Lu Chen smiled slightly, and then said, "If you really think so, why don't you shoot immediately, but waste time here to waste time? Do you kill me without a trick, so do you deliberately delay time?" Lu Chen saw that Emperor Tianlu Great's body was almost possible, and he could not support him to use the power of the avenue again. If the Emperor Tianlu Gas forcibly used the power of Kendo at this time, he would be rejected by the power of Kendo. He himself. Of course, the Emperor's recovery speed and recovery ability are very fast. With the recovery ability of the 9 Emperor's 9 realm, it will not be long before he can stabilize the power of restless Kendo in the body. Seeing Lu Chen at a glance, he saw his dilemma, and Emperor Tianlu's face instantly became gloomy. This is troublesome, he shows his flaws. Lu Chen is likely to take this opportunity to take away the 6th realm of killing the Emperor and escape back to the enchantment of the Great Xia Dynasty. It is difficult to solve the crisis of the Great Xia Dynasty. Obviously, Emperor Tianlu underestimated Lu Chen. Not only did Lu Chen not want to escape, he intends to solve the Emperor Tianlu. At this time, Lu Chen released the power of killing, and his pupils became scarlet in an instant. Seeing this scene, Emperor Tianlu was stunned. How did he forget that the information mentioned in the information was also a killing emperor? It's troublesome, and Lu Chen obviously wanted to take advantage of him to be seriously injured and shot him. Although he saw Lu Chen's intention, Emperor Tianlu laughed at this time. "It is ridiculous to dare to shoot the emperor. You won't think that the emperor is seriously injured, just take you no way." During the speaking, the Emperor Tianlu again released his own phase. The moment the huge golden body phase appeared, a horrible pressure came to this void. Lu Chen suddenly felt that the body was extremely heavy, and the spiritual flow on his body was flowing. It became slow. However, this did not have much impact on Lu Chen. In the next moment, Lu Chen directly took out the broken god sword from the system space. The moment the broken god sword was taken out, a more horrible compression than the 9 emperors was released. After the Emperor Tianlu felt this coercion, the blood spurted out, and the strength of the kendo in the body became even more disordered. Looking at the broken god sword in the hands of Lu Chen, the entire Emperor Tianlu was stunned. Although he had not used the sanctuary's spiritual weapon, he had seen that the sword used by the killing female emperor on the opposite side was obviously very a sacred sword. And he also has a few heavenly wares, so he can infer what the coercion of the holy stepes is probably like. What Lu Chen was holding was definitely not the spiritual tool of the holy step. The moment Lu Chen took out the sword, even the space of the universe was distorted. Essence. Since it is not the holy step, it proves that it is more powerful than the holy step. What is above the sacred step, even the Emperor Tianlu himself does not know. He now only knows that the lethality of this spirit sword must be very scary. How could Lu Chen have such a scary sword? Does this universe allow such a spiritual tool to appear? Lu Chen saw that the power of swordsmanship on Emperor Tianlu's body became more disordered, and said with a smile, "What's wrong? You seem to be very nervous now. Will the 9th level emperor be afraid too?" Hearing Lu Chen's words, Emperor Tianlu came back to his senses. He held on and said, "Afraid? It's ridiculous. I am a 9th level emperor. How can I be afraid of you, a 2nd level emperor? Do you think you have something in your hand? A spiritual sword that surpasses the holy level, is this emperor's opponent? I will let you know today that the gap in realm is not so easy to make up for." As he spoke, Emperor Tianlu's aura suddenly surged, and Lu Chen immediately saw that Emperor Tianlu was burning his soul. Emperor Tianlu was severely wounded by Empress Tianong just now. If he wanted to win the next battle, he could only use some special methods. Burning the soul is the fastest way for Emperor Tianlu to regain his strength. In just a moment, the pressure on Emperor Tianlu's hand surged again, and he could easily withstand the pressure brought by the broken divine sword. Emperor Tianlu raised the long sword in his hand again. Let me teach you how terrifying the power of a spiritual sword that transcends the holy level is. Hearing this, Lu Chen smiled and said, as you wish. Just when Lu Chen was about to take action, suddenly, a delicate hand grabbed Lu Chen's wrist. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and when he looked back, he found that the scarlet eyes of Empress Tianong were staring straight at Yi Yi, as if she was asking him, do you want to steal someone's head? Lu Chen smiled awkwardly. Although Empress Tianong was seriously injured just now, he cured her in an instant. Now Empress Tianong has returned to the state she was in before her fight with Emperor Tianlu. End of chapter. U003C ends U003E. Chapter 1178. How about trying this sword? U003C ends U003E. The Rainbow Queen naturally didn't want Lu Chen to take action. She had already seriously injured Emperor Tianlu and was about to kill him. If Lu Chen ran out to grab the head at this time, wouldn't her injury be in vain? Moreover, Emperor Tianlu was a 9th-level emperor. Killing a 9th-level emperor would absorb more evil spirits, which would be of great help to her in improving her strength. Seeing that the Rainbow Queen was staring at him with resentment, Lu Chen had no choice but to say, well, he will be handed over to you. After the voice fell, Lu Chen casually checked the body of the Rainbow Queen again. After confirming that there was no problem with the body of the Rainbow Queen, Lu Chen said nothing more. At this time, Lu Chen suddenly thought of something and immediately sent the God-breaking sword to the side of the Rainbow Queen. Why don't you try this sword? Even though the Emperor's sword was the sword of the Rainbow Queen and had become a holy level weapon, the Emperor's sword still could not fully withstand the killing power of the Rainbow Queen. Every time the Rainbow Queen uses the sword of the Imperial Daughter, she will let the sword of the Imperial Daughter split into countless clones, and let these clones carry the killing power on her body. In this way, the Rainbow Queen did not directly contact the sword of the Imperial Daughter, and her strength was actually greatly weakened. If there is a spiritual sword that can withstand the killing power of the Rainbow Queen, then the strength of the Rainbow Queen is likely to be greatly improved. The God-breaking sword is an immortal weapon, and immortal weapons can completely withstand the killing power. If this sword is used by the Rainbow Queen, I don't know to what extent the combat power of the Rainbow Queen will be improved. Lu Chen now wants to verify it. Seeing the God-breaking sword floating in front of her, the Rainbow Queen was slightly stunned. The sword of the Imperial Daughter is a holy level spiritual sword. She can clearly feel that the God-breaking sword is of a higher grade than the sword of the Imperial Daughter. Moreover, the aura emanating from the sword of the broken god made her, the emperor who controls the killing power, feel a little fear in her heart. It is conceivable how terrifying this sword is. What is above the holy level? It was an imperial weapon. She remembered that when she was in the outer realm, she seemed to have seen people from the outer realm using imperial weapons, but imperial weapons did not seem to have such power. So, the level of this spiritual sword is likely to be higher than that of an imperial weapon. What level is higher than that of an imperial weapon? A mortal weapon. Thinking of this possibility, the eyes of the Rainbow Queen looked at the God-breaking sword became hot. Perhaps it was because she sensed the inner emotions of the Rainbow Queen, and the imperial sword floating beside the Rainbow Queen became restless. The Imperial Sword was a sword that had been with the Rainbow Queen for who knows how many years. Now that the Rainbow Queen looked at other spiritual swords with shining eyes, the Imperial Sword would naturally feel a little unhappy. After feeling the emotion of the Imperial Sword, the Rainbow Empress came back to her senses. She looked at Lu Chen and asked, "What level of spiritual sword is this?" Lu Chen directly transmitted his voice into her ears and said, "It's not a spiritual sword, it's an immortal sword." After hearing Lu Chen's affirmative answer, the Rainbow Empress became even more excited. If it was an immortal weapon, it would definitely be able to withstand the killing power. In this way, her strength could be exerted, and she no longer had to worry about not being able to control her strength and destroying the sword. Seeing that the Rainbow Empress's eyes seemed to be glowing, Lu Chen immediately reminded the Rainbow Empress, I just lent it to you for a while, but I didn't say I was giving it to you." Hearing Lu Chen's words, the Rainbow Empress felt like being poured with a basin of cold water, but soon the Rainbow Empress calmed down her inner restlessness. Think about it, this is an immortal sword, how could Lu Chen be willing to give her a treasure of this level? It's good to be able to use it. The Rainbow Empress stopped thinking about it, and she no longer hesitated. She stretched out her hand and grasped the hilt of the broken god sword. The next moment, the killing power of the Rainbow Empress rushed into the god-breaking sword crazily, and the breath of the Rainbow Empress also rose crazily at this moment. The god-breaking sword had a huge increase in the strength of the Rainbow Empress. Feeling the surging breath and the crazy overflowing killing power of the Rainbow Empress, Emperor Tianlu's face changed instantly. Just holding the strange sword, the woman's strength actually increased so much. How is this possible? What level of spiritual sword is this? Could it be the legendary imperial weapon? How could an imperial weapon appear in this universe? Didn't it say that if the Emperor of Heaven doesn't come out, the imperial weapon will not exist? According to some legends left by the ancient era, it is said that only the Emperor of Heaven can refine the imperial weapon, because the imperial weapon needs to use the original power of this universe. When an era collapses, the imperial weapon born in this era will also be destroyed, because the laws of the new era have changed. The imperial weapon of the old era is refined using the original power of the old era, and will be rejected and destroyed in the new era. Without the Emperor of Heaven, the universe would not have produced an emperor weapon. Wait, the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor Tianlu's eyes suddenly fell on Lu Chen. If Lu Chen was really the Emperor of Heaven, then even if Lu Chen did not recover the strength of the Emperor of Heaven, would it be possible for him to use the power of the origin to refine an emperor weapon? Thinking of this possibility, Emperor Tianlu was sweating profusely. He did not know what kind of power the emperor weapon had. He had never used it and had never seen it before. But he knew how terrifying the holy weapon was. The woman who used the holy weapon just now could have seriously injured herself in the 6th level. If that woman used the emperor weapon, he would definitely die. Thinking of this, Emperor Tianlu did not hesitate at all. He gathered all his strength and mobilized the power of the sword. A mighty force gathered in the giant sword in the hand of Emperor Tianlu, and then Emperor Tianlu swung the sword directly. Heaven and earth slash. It is better to strike first than to be strong. We must not let that woman use that sword. When Emperor Tianlu swung the sword, the void trembled, and the universe made a crackling sound wherever the sword energy passed. Seeing that Emperor Tianlu swung the sword in such a hurry, Empress Tianong just snorted coldly. With the help of Lu Chen, her injuries were gone and her strength was restored. Emperor Tianlu was already seriously injured. Even if he burned his soul, his strength could not be restored to the previous state. At this time, it was easy for Empress Tianong to deal with Emperor Tianlu. Empress Tianong clenched the god-breaking sword in her hand, gathering the killing power in the sword. When she saw that the terrifying sword energy swung by Emperor Tianlu was about to approach them, Empress Tianong also swung the sword. It was just a casual sword swing, without any sword skills. The sword energy from the god-breaking sword contained the power of killing. When it came into contact with the sword energy from Emperor Tianlu, it instantly destroyed the sword energy and cut through Emperor Tianlu's body at a speed faster than the speed of light. Before Emperor Tianlu could react, a crack appeared on his body and a blood-red light was emitted. When Emperor Tianlu noticed it, he found that he could no longer mobilize his spiritual power, and even his soul power was gradually dissipating. Emperor Tianlu showed an unbelievable look on his face. No. Impossible. At this time, he could not even self-destruct, and could only watch his body turn into a light spot and gradually dissipate in the universe. End of this chapter. U003C ends U003E. Chapter 1179. How can she be so strong? When the body and soul of Emperor Tianlu completely dissipated, Empress Tianong, who was holding the god-breaking sword in her hand, suddenly softened. Seeing that Empress Tianong's physical condition was a little abnormal, Lu Chen quickly embraced Empress Tianong's waist, supported her whole body, and infused her with life force. The sword just now directly drained all the killing power from Empress Tianong, and even the ordinary spiritual power did not exist. If Lu Chen had not infused her with life force in time, I am afraid her body would fall apart at this time. Even Empress Tianong did not expect that the god-breaking sword would be so terrifying. She couldn't help but think in her heart, is this the power of the immortal weapon? The horror of this immortal weapon made her, an emperor who controlled the killing power, feel scared. At this moment, in the void where Emperor Tianlu fell, a cloud of red evil spirits appeared, and then these evil spirits rushed into Empress Tianong's body frantically. When these evil spirits entered the body of the Rainbow Queen, the killing power on her body became stronger and stronger. In a moment, the nearby void was shrouded by the killing power. The realm of the Rainbow Queen also loosened at this time, but unfortunately, her realm was still stuck at the 6th level and she did not rush up directly. The Rainbow Queen always felt that she was just a little bit away from breaking through to the 7th level. The next moment, her eyes fell on the emperors who were fighting in the distance. The 3 emperors, Dongyang Emperor, Lingyun Emperor, and Zhengyang Emperor, were all in the 7th level, and there were many emperors in the 4th and 5th levels. If all those emperors were killed, she should be able to easily break through to the 7th level. Thinking of this, the Rainbow Queen clenched the god-breaking sword in her hand, and her body turned into a residual image and flew in front of the Dongyang Emperor who was fighting against the Thunder Emperor. After seeing the Rainbow Queen and the killing power emanating from her, Emperor Dongyang was stunned for a moment, and didn't even run away at the first moment. How is this possible? Emperor Dongyang muttered. This woman's appearance here means that Emperor Tianlu has been defeated, and may even fall. Emperor Tianlu is a 9th level emperor, how could he be defeated by a 6th level emperor? Is the emperor who masters the killing power really so terrifying? When Emperor Dongyang was distracted, Empress Tianong swung a sword, and the killing power wrapped in the sword energy of the god-breaking sword cut through Emperor Dongyang's body. The next moment, Emperor Dongyang was split into 2 halves, and his body turned into stars. After seeing this scene, Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang were instantly frightened and pale. 1 sword. This female devil killed a 7th level emperor with only 1 sword. How is this possible? How can she be so strong? Isn't she only at the 6th level? Although they all know that the killing emperor has the ability to fight across levels, it is still a bit too exaggerated to kill the 7th level emperor with this sword. Soon, Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang noticed the god-breaking sword in the hands of the Rainbow Empress, which exuded a terrifying pressure. Emperor Lingyun immediately said, "It's that sword." As soon as the voice of Emperor Lingyun fell, he fled directly into the distance without any hesitation. Although he didn't know whether the sword in the hands of the Rainbow Empress was a holy weapon or an imperial weapon, the pressure emanating from the sword had already made him feel that his life was threatened. The killing emperor was already at the 6th level, and now he had such a terrifying weapon. Who could be her opponent? The only way to survive now is to escape. Anyway, there are other emperors here to hold this woman back. The first one to escape is most likely to survive. It's better to die than to die. Seeing that Emperor Lingyun actually ran away, Emperor Zhengyang cursed him as a bastard, and then he also fled directly into the distance. Even the emperors of the 9th level were no match for this woman. Now, of their 4 major dynasties, the peak of the combat power of 2 dynasties has been solved by this female devil. Now there are only 2 of them in the 7th level. There is no chance of winning at all. Running away is their best choice. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. As for surrender, they didn't even think about it. The female devil exuded such a strong killing power. It was obviously coming to kill them. How could she allow them to surrender? Maybe they surrendered the moment before and were killed by the female devil the next moment. The most important thing now is to stay away from the female devil and let the remaining more than 100 emperors hold her back. Although the strength of those emperors is not very good, they have more numbers. Even if the female devil kills an emperor with 1 sword, it will take a while to kill. This period of time is enough for them to escape. However, what Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang didn't expect was that Empress Tianong didn't kill the more than 100 emperors first. A thick blood mist suddenly emanated from the body of the Rainbow Empress, and then the entire battlefield was shrouded in blood mist. Soon, the emperors found that their bodies seemed to be locked by something. A sense of life and death crisis surged into the hearts of all the emperors. Even Lu Chen felt that his own strength was suppressed to a certain extent in the killing field of the Rainbow Empress. Lu Chen clearly felt that the strength of the Rainbow Empress had become stronger again. This was the terrifying part of the killing emperor. The killing emperor would continue to increase his strength as the killing continued. Just now, Empress Tianong killed Emperor Tianlu of the 9th level, and then Emperor Dongyang of the 7th level. At this time, her strength has far exceeded that of ordinary emperors of the 9th level. When Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang saw that the space was blocked, their faces suddenly changed and their backs went cold. They knew that this was the killing field. In the killing field, they could not use space to move. In this situation, they had to work together to break the killing field to have a glimmer of hope. Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang looked at each other, and Emperor Lingyun said, "It seems that this female devil is determined to kill us." Emperor Zhengyang snorted and laughed. "Those who prove their truth by killing are all crazy. We shouldn't have provoked the Great Xia Dynasty in the first place." Emperor Lingyun said, "It's too late to say anything now. Let's think about how to break the killing field and escape." Emperor Zhengyang said, "No matter how strong the female devil is, she is only at the 6th level. Although the spiritual sword in her hand poses a great threat to us, the killing field has nothing to do with her sword. As long as all of us join forces, we can always break her killing field." What Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang are most afraid of now is not the strength of Empress Tianong herself, but the sword in Empress Tianong's hand. They have already felt the extraordinariness of the god-breaking sword. In their opinion, the reason why Emperor Tianlu and Emperor Dongyang were defeated by Empress Tianong was because of the sword in Empress Tianong's hand. They didn't care much about the killing field created by the Tianong Empress with her own power. At this time, Emperor Lingyun said loudly, "The emperors of the 4 dynasties, coalition forces, all come closer to me." Chapter 1180, Spirit Gathering Array. After hearing the message from Emperor Lingyun, the emperors of the coalition of the 4 dynasties finally woke up from their dreams. When they were fighting with the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty just now, the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty were obviously not their opponents. In addition, they were more numerous, so the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty were forced to defend. Originally, the emperors of the coalition of the 4 dynasties were excited, thinking that the Great Xia Dynasty would definitely lose this time. As a result, the message from Emperor Lingyun made one of the emperors of the 4 dynasties discover that Emperor Tianlu and Emperor Dongyang were missing. Not only did the 2 of them disappear, but the remaining 2 leaders, Emperor Lingyun and Emperor Zhengyang, also looked very embarrassed. What happened? Where did Emperor Tianlu and Emperor Dongyang go? For a while, the emperors of the coalition of the 4 dynasties panicked. They originally thought that Emperor Tianlu, a 9th-level emperor, could easily kill the 6th-level Emperor Shafa. As a result, the other party not only did not die, but appeared here, and even launched a killing field, trapping all of them in the killing field. Emperor Tianlu was not there. So did that mean that Emperor Tianlu had been defeated, or that Emperor Tianlu had died? Thinking of this possibility, the emperors became more nervous. Emperor Lingyun had no time to explain anything to the emperors, and he sent a voice message again, "Form a formation immediately and find a way to break the killing field." They had more than 100 emperors in total, so it should not be a big problem to break the field of a 6th-level emperor. Seeing Emperor Lingyun so panicked, the emperors present understood that Emperor Tianlu had really been in trouble. Now all they had to do was to break the killing field and escape from this place. Even Emperor Tianlu, a 9th-level emperor, was not a match for the female devil, so all of them together might not be enough for the female devil to chop. Soon, the emperors of the 4 dynasties united, and all their strengths gathered on Emperor Lingyun, forming a huge spirit-gathering array. This array can make Emperor Lingyun's strength rise to the 9th level of the Emperor realm in a short time, or even higher. For a moment, a terrifying pressure appeared in the killing field. Some emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty in the killing field were directly shocked by this pressure and couldn't raise their heads. Even Lu Chen felt that the spiritual power in his body was blocked under this pressure. Fortunately, he mastered the power of the origin, which instantly unblocked the flow of spiritual power in his body. Lu Chen's eyes were fixed on the huge Dharma image of Emperor Lingyun. At this time, the Dharma image of Emperor Lingyun, which was formed by the spirit gathering array, was as huge as 1 light year, and almost occupied the entire killing field. However, even though Emperor Lingyun was already very powerful, he did not attack Empress Tianong, but directly punched the killing field. Emperor Lingyun knew very well that this spirit gathering array could not last too long, and his body could not support it for long. The spirit gathering array gathers the strength of all the emperors together. Although there will be a lot of loss in it, it will not affect the gathering of these forces. This leads to a problem. These emperors have different ways of proving the Tao, and the power of the great Tao contained in their bodies is different. When all the power of the great Tao gathers together, there will be a violent collision in the body of Emperor Lingyun. If Emperor Lingyun does not break the killing field quickly, his body and soul will be destroyed by these chaotic powers of the great Tao. It must be said that the effect of the spirit gathering array is indeed quite obvious. After Emperor Lingyun's Dharma image punched the edge of the killing field, it directly blasted out a huge space hole. Immediately afterwards, the killing field of Empress Tianong also shattered like glass. Empress Tianong frowned. She thought that after the killing field was opened, it would be her hunting time. As a result, these people united to break the killing field. The Rainbow Queen clenched the god-breaking sword and rushed directly towards the image of the Spirit Cloud Emperor. Just as the Rainbow Queen was about to approach the image of the Spirit Cloud Emperor, the image of the Spirit Cloud Emperor suddenly exploded. The body of the Spirit Cloud Emperor also exploded on the spot, turning into powder and floating in the starry sky. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised. This spirit gathering array is indeed quite powerful, but unfortunately not everyone can control it. The Spirit Cloud Emperor only cultivated one way. How could his body withstand so many great ways of power running around in his body? It is normal for his body to explode. However, if the spirit gathering array is used on himself, Lu Chen thought of this, and his eyes lit up. He was worried that he had not reached the 9th level before, and he could only hide when he met the Emperor of the 9th level. If he also used the spirit gathering array, his strength could also be raised to the 9th level of the Emperor in an instant. The most important point is that his way of creation is the origin of all great ways, so no matter what kind of great way of power enters his body, it will not cause any impact on his body. When he has the strength of a 9th level emperor, and uses the god-breaking sword, let alone an ordinary 9th level emperor, even the Emperor of Heaven may not be his opponent. Thinking of this, Lu Chen's smile grew wider and wider. At the same time, a golden light suddenly penetrated the universe and escaped from the space crack. A flash of blood flashed in the eyes of the Rainbow Queen, and then she said to Lu Chen, "I'll leave it to you, I'll go after him." As soon as the words fell, the body of the Rainbow Empress disappeared. She split the universe with a sword, and then threw the god-breaking sword to Lu Chen. She took the Emperor's sword and went directly into the space crack. The one who escaped just now was the soul of Emperor Lingyun. Although the body of Emperor Lingyun could not withstand the power of various avenues and exploded directly, his soul was still intact. For the Emperor, as long as the soul is not destroyed, it means he is still alive. No mistakes, one song, one post, one content, one look. The Rainbow Empress will never let go of the culprit who broke through her killing domain. She knows that Lu Chen is also the killing emperor. With Lu Chen's strength, he can completely trap the emperors present. As long as Lu Chen can hold these emperors for a while, she will kill them all when she comes back. Seeing that the Rainbow Empress disappeared, the emperors of the 4 dynasties instantly relaxed. Great, the female devil is gone, let's run. We can't wait for that woman to come back. Run, run. That Lu Chen is right there. Are we just going to run away? You're crazy, even Emperor Tianlu can't get rid of him. Why should we get involved? Run away, if that woman comes back, we'll all die. Soon, the emperors of the four great dynasties were ready to break through the space blockade and escape from this star field. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen smiled faintly, and the next moment, he also exuded a thick blood-colored murderous aura. In just a blink of an eye, the entire star field was once again shrouded in the killing field. End of this chapter. Chapter 1181 isn't an amp. Number 039, Teehee only at the second level. How can he be so strong? Seeing that this star domain was shrouded in the field of killing again, the eyes of all the emperors present fell on Lu Chen. Seeing a dual realm of Lu Chen district, he dared to use the field of killing the field to stop them. Some of the hot emperors couldn't bear it. Especially those emperors with 4 or 5 areas. When they just faced the Emperor Tianong, they had undergone a lot of pressure and did not vent. Now they are blocked by Lu Chen's escape, and they are even more hot. Since this Lu Chen doesn't know how to do it, don't blame them. One of the 5 emperors said loudly, since he doesn't want to let us leave, then remove him first. That 6-way female magic head is not there. I don't believe in so many people, I can't kill him. That is, as long as he removes him, the crisis brought by the Xia Dynasty may be solved. Everyone goes together. Nympho. For a while, all the great emperors of the 4 major dynasties went straight to Lu Chen. After seeing this scene, the Thunder Emperor and others quickly blocked Lu Chen to prevent them from contacting Lu Chen. Seeing the emperor who came straight to himself, Lu Chen looked at the broken god sword that was suspended in front of him. The broken god sword kept shaking the sword body. It seemed to want him to pick it up and kill those emperors. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Since even his sword has issued such an invitation, if he does not agree, wouldn't he disappoint the broken god sword? Lu Chen then stretched out his hand, and the broken god sword flew directly to Lu Chen's hand. After Lu Chen clenched the broken god sword, he said to the big emperors who were in front of him, "You all let it go." Hearing this, the Thunder Emperor and others were stunned. Although they all thought that Lu Chen was strong, but now here is just an avatar of Lu Chen. There is only a dungeon, how can the duces of the 2 emperors be so many emperors? But Lu Chen is the emperor, and the emperor cannot be humiliated. How can his avatar be killed by such a group of inferior emperors? The Thunder Emperor and others did not immediately let it go. The Thunder Emperor turned his head and looked at Lu Chen and said, "Your Majesty, many of the great emperors are the emperors of the 5 or 6th realms. You may not be their opponent alone." Lu Chen said faintly, "It's okay, I just want to try the sword." After hearing this, everyone's eyes fell on the broken god sword in the hands of Lu Chen. After feeling the horror and evil spirit emitted by the broken god sword, the Thunder Emperor and others subconsciously left from the front of Lu Chen. Chen gave out his position. The Thunder Emperor also wanted to see how terrible destructive power was exuding such a horrible sword. Seeing that the Thunder Emperor and others were opened, and the great emperors of the 4 major dynasties became more excited. They all thought that without the protection of the Thunder Emperor's protection, they could easily remove the scourge of Lu Chen. However, when the emperors were about to shoot Lu Chen took the lead in stepping. He directly acted in the distance of the half-light year, and instantly posted in front of the emperor. When the emperor saw Lu Chen take the initiative, they all stunned in the void, but soon someone responded and shot directly to Lu Chen. "Since you have to die, the emperor will be you all." Juyang's sword. The next moment, the 9 sun appeared in the void, and these suns smashed into Lu Chen fiercely. What was going on to Lu Chen was a 5-way emperor, and when he came up the broken god sword. Bing Ice 8 sword. Intersection. The broken god sword waved out, wrapped in the killing of Lu Chen, went straight to the 9 rounds of the sun. When the 8 Dao Hangguang flashed from the 9 rounds of the sun, the 9 rounds of the sun instantly turned into a little starlight to dissipate. But the matter has not yet ended. The 8 cold light not only flashed from the 9 rounds of the sun, but also flashed from some great emperors. When those emperors reacted, they were too late when they wanted to resist. Soon, all the emperors who came into contact with the shattered sword were frozen. The next moment, their bodies and souls burst into a grain of crystal-clear ice residue. Seeing that a group of emperors were resolved by Lu Chen's sword, the emperors, who were originally ready to do with Lu Chen, were stunned in place. Why, Mei, isn't he only dungeon? How can he be so strong? It's a sword, the sword in his hands. That sword must be an emperor. Nympho. After thinking of this possibility, none of the 4 emperors of the 4 dynasties dared to rashly shot. There is no mistake. One time, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 by 1. Seeing them one by one, Lu Chen's gaze immediately looked at the Emperor Zhengyang hiding in the corner, and then said with a smile, "You are the strongest of them, how can you hide it?" During the storytelling, the evil spirits of the great emperors just killed together were gathered on Lu Chen's body. At this time, Lu Chen exudes blood-red halo, and his eyes exuding red and strange light, making people look chilling and shuddering. Essence. Emperor Zhengyang did not answer the question of Lu Chen. He was still thinking about how to escape. He had reacted. Lu Chen's strength is probably not weaker than that female demon head. At this time, if you want to escape, break the field of killing Lu Chen. Otherwise, within the field of killing, they will only be solved by Lu Chen one by one. It seems that he still has to use the trick just now. If his body is torn apart at that time, he will also let his soul escape like Emperor Lingyun. For the Emperor, the physical body is sometimes a kind of restraint. Without the physical body, he can escape faster and it is not easy to be discovered. Especially at the moment when the physical body exploded. After having a plan in mind, Emperor Zhengyang immediately said, "Form a formation and break his killing field first." Hearing the words of Emperor Zhengyang, the emperors of the 4 dynasties reacted one after another. Now they are in Lu Chen's killing field. Their strength is actually suppressed and they can't play their full strength. If they can break the killing field, maybe they still have hope to get rid of Lu Chen. Obviously, most of the emperors misunderstood the meaning of Emperor Zhengyang. They thought that Emperor Zhengyang broke the killing field to prevent the killing field from restricting their strength. Little did they know that Emperor Zhengyang had already prepared to escape. With the order of Emperor Zhengyang, the remaining emperors formed a formation again, and all the emperors infused their own power into the body of Emperor Zhengyang. The image of the Zhengyang Emperor instantly grew larger, becoming the same size as the image of the Lingyun Emperor just now. Since Lu Chen's killing domain was smaller than that of the Tiannong Empress, the top of the image of the Zhengyang Emperor directly hit the boundary of the killing domain. After the Zhengyang Emperor felt the collision and explosion of various forces in his body, he felt very uncomfortable. He clenched his teeth, raised the huge palm of the image, and slapped it towards the killing domain. End of this chapter. Chapter 1182. Learn from them and use the spirit gathering array. When attacking the killing field, the Zhengyang Emperor did not dare to use any magic, but just a simple palm. Now there are various great powers colliding in his body. If he uses magic at this time, his body will explode in advance. Fortunately, even if he does not use magic, his Dharma image can smash Lu Chen's killing field with one palm. When the giant palm of the Zhengyang Emperor's Dharma image touched the edge of the killing field, Lu Chen's killing field instantly cracked and shattered like glass. At this time, the strength of the Zhengyang Emperor has almost surpassed the Emperor of the 9th level. Lu Chen has no way to deal with the destruction of the killing field. Destroy it, destroy it. Although the strength of the Zhengyang Emperor has been improved to a very terrifying level, he can't last long. After the killing field is destroyed, the body of the Zhengyang Emperor will explode like the Lingyun Emperor just now. Lu Chen suddenly thought of something, and then sent a message to Emperor Lei Ting and the others, learn from them and use the gathering spirit array. Hearing Lu Chen's words, all the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty were stunned. Use the gathering spirit array. Just now, after Emperor Lingyun used the gathering spirit array, his body exploded directly, and this was without using any magic. And the 4 great dynasties used the gathering spirit array to break through the killing field, and they didn't need to break through the killing field, so what was the point of using the gathering spirit array? Emperor Lei Ting immediately said, "Your Majesty, you must not do that. The side effects of the gathering spirit array are too great." Before Emperor Lei Ting finished speaking, Lu Chen interrupted and said, "I can control all the power of the avenue, no need to worry. Hearing this, Emperor Lei Ting and all the emperors were stunned. Can control all the power of the avenue. If this is really the case, then the Gathering Spirit Array is definitely the most suitable formation for Emperor Sha Tian. Since Emperor Sha had spoken, they didn't need to think too much. Emperor Lei Ting immediately said, "Form a formation." After the words fell, all the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty came back to their senses and immediately formed a formation. The next moment, the power of the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty gathered together, and the power emitting colorful light instantly poured into Lu Chen's body. For a moment, Lu Chen felt that his strength was growing wildly, and at the same time he also noticed that various avenue powers were running around in his body. If he didn't deal with these running avenue powers, his body would explode like Emperor Lingyun before. Lu Chen then mobilized the avenue power of the Way of Creation, and at the same time used some origin power as an aid. The next moment, all the avenue powers in his body calmed down, and no longer ran around, all flowed in the same direction, and gradually transformed into the power of creation. Seeing that Lu Chen had also used the Gathering Spirit Array, Emperor Zhengyang was somewhat puzzled. What was Lu Chen doing with the Gathering Spirit Array at this time? They were using the Gathering Spirit Array to escape, and they could only use it once at most. After one time, the Gathering Spirit Array would collapse. The Gathering Spirit Array was generally used as a last resort, and it was difficult to use it to attack. Now that the Great Xia Dynasty was in an advantageous position, what was the point of them using the Gathering Spirit Array? Could it be that they still wanted to use the Gathering Spirit Array to attack? Thinking of this possibility, Emperor Zhengyang suddenly felt a little happy. After using the Gathering Spirit Array, he just raised his hand, and his body could not hold up. If Lu Chen used magic to attack after using the Gathering Spirit Array, then Lu Chen was looking for death, and it was very likely that his body and soul would be shattered together. When they thought of Lu Chen looking for death himself, the emperors of the coalition of the four dynasties were very excited. They seemed to have seen the scene of Lu Chen's soul being destroyed. But at this moment, Emperor Zhengyang's body exploded because he could not withstand the power of the avenue running around, and his body instantly turned into starlight. At the moment of the explosion, a golden light suddenly tore through the universe. Lu Chen was very keenly aware of this. When Emperor Zhengyang was using the Spirit Gathering Array, Lu Chen suspected that Emperor Zhengyang wanted to escape like Emperor Lingyun, so he had been staring at him. Lu Chen smiled faintly. He wanted to escape. At this time, he already had the strength of the 9th level emperor. In this case, he still wanted to play tricks in front of him. Lu Chen did not hesitate at all and directly mobilized the power of space to block all the space in the surrounding star field. In a moment, the space crack opened by Emperor Zhengyang was also restored. Emperor Zhengyang just wanted to get in, but he hit nothing. Seeing that he was still here, Emperor Zhengyang suddenly felt cold on his back. He suddenly understood why Lu Chen wanted to use the Spirit Gathering Array. Lu Chen now has the strength of the 9th level emperor. Blocking space is not a very simple matter. Emperor Zhengyang turned his head and looked at Lu Chen, thinking that the Spirit Gathering Array would not last long, not to mention that Lu Chen was still blocking the space in this situation. The power of the Great Tao in his body must have become more agitated, and it would not be long before Lu Chen's body and soul would explode. As long as he waited until Lu Chen's soul was completely destroyed, he would be able to escape at that time. Thinking of this, Emperor Zhengyang felt a little relieved. But what Emperor Zhengyang did not expect was that Lu Chen's body still showed no signs of collapse after a few breaths. Lu Chen's Dharma image did not seem to have any fluctuations, as if he had not been backlashed by various great Tao powers. What's going on? They had just used the Gathering Spirit Array, and he knew the side effects of the Gathering Spirit Array very well. How could Lu Chen still be fine after using it? He used the Gathering Spirit Array, and just raised his hand, and the Gathering Spirit Array collapsed, and his body exploded. No mistakes, one sentence, one post, one content, one look. After Lu Chen used the Gathering Spirit Array, he blocked the space, and Lu Chen consumed more power. It stands to reason that the various powers of the avenues in Lu Chen's body are more chaotic and agitated, but Lu Chen looks fine. Emperor Zhengyang didn't understand, and the emperors of the 4 dynasties didn't understand either. They just looked at Lu Chen quietly. Lu Chen asked with a smile, "Don't you want to escape? Why don't you escape now?" Emperor Zhengyang suddenly thought of a way at this time, and he immediately sent a message to the emperors of the 4 dynasties. Lu Chen can't maintain the spirit gathering array for long. As long as we launch an attack, his body will be blown up by the various avenue powers. Hearing the words of Emperor Zhengyang, the emperors of the 4 dynasties attacked Lu Chen without hesitation. Sky-breaking claw, heaven-burning kill, moon-breaking sword, ... For a while, the emperors of the 4 dynasties used all kinds of magic and methods. They had only one purpose, which was to make the avenue power in Lu Chen's body more chaotic, so that Lu Chen would be backfired by those avenue powers and then explode. Seeing those emperors rushing up, Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised. These people were still too naive. If it were an ordinary emperor, he would indeed be affected by various attacks, thus accelerating the collapse of his body, but now the avenue power in his body has stabilized. If these people dare to attack, they are looking for death. End of this chapter. Chapter 1183. You really are not afraid of death at all. Lu Chen glanced at the emperors who rushed over and said lightly, "You are really not afraid of death at all." After the voice fell, Lu Chen raised the God-breaking sword in his hand, and then infused the various avenue powers gathered in his body into the God-breaking sword, and then swung the sword. This sword did not use any sword techniques, no fancy tricks, just a single sword. After the sword energy was swung out, various avenue powers gathered in the sword energy and chopped at the emperors who rushed over. After the emperors came into contact with the sword energy of the God-breaking sword, their bodies instantly underwent countless changes. Some emperors turned into children, some emperors turned into old people, and some emperors turned directly into ashes. After feeling the spiritual power in their bodies constantly draining away, all the emperors of the 4 dynasties panicked. It was the first time they encountered such a strange power. This power seemed to be able to control their life and death. Some people tried to get rid of this power, but found that the spiritual power in their bodies had been sealed. They could only watch them become young, old, and finally turned into ashes. Some emperors couldn't stand it and begged for mercy, saying, "Don't kill me, I am willing to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty." With the first emperor who spoke, there was a second, a third, and soon more emperors chose to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty. "I am willing to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty. I am willing to, let me go." Even Emperor Tianlu was defeated. Now that Lu Chen used the spirit gathering array, his strength has reached the 9th level, and his body has not collapsed yet, which proves that Lu Chen has found a way to balance all the power of the avenue. Now they are simply not Lu Chen's opponents. Choosing to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty may still have a glimmer of hope. After hearing the words of these emperors, Lu Chen originally planned to accept it. After all, if so many emperors all joined the Great Xia Dynasty, the strength of the Great Xia Dynasty would rise to another level again. The most important thing is, if these emperors use the spirit gathering array together, then wouldn't his strength in the future be very likely to surpass the 9-layer emperor, and even the emperor of heaven? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Chen's idea of subduing them became stronger, but what Lu Chen didn't expect was that just when he was about to speak, the voice of Emperor Zhengyang suddenly came. He is already at the end of his strength, everyone sees this opportunity, he just used magic, his body must not be able to bear it. After the voice fell, Emperor Zhengyang took the lead and rushed to the left side of Lu Chen, and then Emperor Zhengyang swung out with a palm. Flipping the river palm. For a while, huge waves rose in the void, and a huge palm appeared in the huge waves. Lu Chen was distracted just now, and his Dharma image at the moment was too huge. Before he had time to dodge, the giant palm slapped his Dharma image. Perhaps because it was the first time to use the spirit gathering array, Lu Chen's control of various avenue powers was still lacking. Emperor Zhengyang's palm came over, and directly cracked countless cracks in Lu Chen's Dharma image. Seeing that Lu Chen's Dharma image was actually showing signs of breaking, the emperors who were planning to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty just now became excited again. Lu Chen is really dying. Quick, let's attack together. We can definitely get rid of him this time. Then the emperors of the four great dynasties united again and attacked Lu Chen together. Lu Chen glanced at these emperors helplessly. He had originally planned to give these emperors a way out, but he didn't expect that they would insist on seeking death. This can't be blamed on him. Lu Chen then used the power of the origin to instantly repair the cracks in the Dharma image, and then Lu Chen raised the God-breaking sword in his hand again. Then he looked at the group of emperors coldly. Since you are looking for death, then I will fulfill your wish. Seeing that the cracks on Lu Chen's Dharma image were actually repaired in an instant, the emperors of the four great dynasties were stunned, and even Emperor Zhengyang was stunned in front of Lu Chen. Emperor Zhengyang muttered, "How is this possible? His body is about to collapse." Lu Chen didn't waste any more time talking to the emperors, he swung his sword again. The speed of this sword was very fast. A majestic sword energy wrapped with various great powers swept through the bodies of those emperors in an instant. Before those emperors had time to react, they were annihilated. This also included Emperor Zhengyang. Feeling that his body was turning into a light spot, Emperor Zhengyang said unwillingly, "No. This emperor is unwilling." As soon as Emperor Zhengyang finished speaking, his body completely dissipated. Like Emperor Zhengyang, all the emperors who were swept by Lu Chen's sword energy also turned into light spots and dissipated in the starry sky, leaving nothing behind. After seeing this terrifying power, the emperors who survived hurriedly said again, "I am willing to surrender to the Great Xia Dynasty, don't kill me. I came to the Great Xia Dynasty because I was forced to do so. This has nothing to do with me. It was Emperor Zhengyang who forced me to do it just now. Your Majesty, please spare my life." Hearing these people's words, Lu Chen sneered. Just now, when Emperor Zhengyang said that his body was about to collapse, these emperors didn't think about anything and took action directly. He saw it clearly. Now the situation is not favorable to them, so they say that others forced them. Lu Chen stopped talking nonsense and gathered all the power of the avenues in his body again. He slashed at the emperors in the distance with his sword again. Seeing that Lu Chen was going to kill, the emperors of the remaining four dynasties were scared and fled. They saw that Lu Chen would not give them a second chance. Some emperors ran away while cursing Emperor Zhengyang. If it were not for Emperor Zhengyang, they would have surrendered to the Great Xia Dynasty and would not be chased by Lu Chen. With the blessing of the Spirit Gathering Array, Lu Chen has the strength of the 9th level of the Emperor, and he has a very terrifying weapon in his hand. Who can be his opponent now? With the space blocked, those emperors can only use teleportation to escape, but their escape speed is very slow for Lu Chen at this moment. Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised, and then she kept waving the God-breaking sword in her hand. The sword energy of the God-breaking sword directly passed through the space and instantly appeared behind those emperors, killing them. Some sword energy even appeared in front of those emperors. Lu Chen controlled the entire space. He could make the sword energy of the God-breaking sword appear wherever he wanted. For Lu Chen, killing those emperors was no different from harvesting wheat. In less than a quarter of an hour, all the emperors of the coalition forces of the four dynasties were killed by Lu Chen. When Empress Tianong came back, she only saw the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty and the empty void. Seeing the empty void and the evil energy that was madly pouring into Lu Chen's body, Empress Tianong frowned, her brows were locked, and she stared at Lu Chen. End of this chapter. Chapter 1184 Unified Lingzhou Superstar Region Group. U003C, INS, U003E. With such a strong evil spirit on Lu Chen, the fool knows what happened. This made the Emperor Tianong feel very unhappy, and she obviously asked Lu Chen to trap the great emperors in order to wait for her to come back to solve them. As a result, Lu Chen alone solved all the great emperors, and she also wanted to use this opportunity to impact a higher level. Seeing Tianong's poor staring at herself, as if she was her enemy, Lu Chen said with a smile, "What do you look at me like this? You don't come back for a while, and my field of killing can't be trapped again. There is no way. I can only solve them in advance. This cannot blame me. Emperor Tianong glanced at Lu Chen. At this time, Zhulinghe had been lifted, and Lu Chen's avatar returned to the Emperor's two again. This made the Emperor Tianong a little puzzled, but the Great Emperor's emperor realm. How did Lu Chen kill all the great emperors in such a short time? That is more than 100 emperors. She left with confidence just because she felt that the field of killing Lu Chen could only trap those emperors and could not remove all the great emperors. After all, there was 7 emperors in the great emperors and several 6 emperors. It didn't take long for him to go out for a long time, and Lu Chen cleared the field directly. Even if Lu Chen has that fairy sword in his hands, you can clear the field so soon? The Emperor Tianong asked curiously, how did you do it? Lu Chen answered lightly, gathering. After hearing this answer, there was a trace of confusion on the cold face of Tianong Empress. Zholing is the array used by Emperor Lingyun before. That formation brought the power of all the emperors into the body of an emperor. A great emperor could not bear so many forces, and the power of those avenue would collide with each other very high in a person's body. Once the Zhuling array is used, the end is likely to be the same as the Lingyun emperor. If it is not controlled, it may even be destroyed. Emperor Tianong did not think that Zhulinghe could be used as a means of offense. No matter which forces, they would try to use Zhulinghe only at the last moment of life and death. Lu Chen actually regarded Zhuling as a means of offense. After he used Zhulinghe, did he burst out? Soon the Emperor Tianong thought of what he thought of. There were so many avatars in Lu Chen, and his avatar was more special. It seemed that for Lu Chen, even if the avatar exploded, it would not have much impact on his body. If this is the case, it seems that it is not impossible to use Zhuling as a means of attack. If the avatar explodes, he will continue to create an avatar. U003C ins U003E. Of course, this is obviously a misunderstanding of the Emperor Tianong. At this time, Lu Chen saw the puzzlement in the heart of the Emperor Tianong, so he said directly, "You forget that I have the power of all the avenues." Hearing this, Tianong Emperor's brain was stunned, and Lu Chen really told her before. In this way, no matter what the power of the avenue enters Lu Chen's body, it will not have any impact on Lu Chen. Can Lu Chen always use Zhuling? In this way, Lu Chen's strength can always be maintained in the 9 Emperors 9, and the more the great emperor of the Great Xia Dynasty, the stronger the strength of Lu Chen. Even Lu Chen's strength is likely to surpass the emperor of the emperor. Thinking of this possibility, the Emperor Tianong felt sour. In this way, she would not be able to surpass Lu Chen for a lifetime. The Emperor Tianong quickly returned to God. Lu Chen's strength with Zhulinghe's improvement was short. Even if his strength was strong in this state, it was not Lu Chen's own strength. Essence. After comforting herself in her heart, the Emperor Tianong felt so much. However, when I thought of Lu Chen, all the great emperors of the 4 major dynasties were destroyed, and none of them left herself. Emperor Tianong's heart had a dissatisfaction again. Lu Chen can use Zhulinghe unlikely, and use this killing method to improve his strength. Shouldn't you give this opportunity to the person you need? After feeling the grievances in the eyes of the Emperor Tianong, Lu Chen said, "You have all exceeded the 7th realm. According to the speed you cultivated, you can reach the 9-way realm long, and there is no need to be too anxious." When the Emperor Tianong returned, Lu Chen obviously felt that the breath on the Emperor Tianong enhanced a lot. Then he checked it with the system and found that the realm of Tianong Emperor really broke through. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Emperor Tianong couldn't help thinking that it would not be that Lu Chen would be able to break through the 7th realm after he had killed the escaped 7 emperors at the beginning. So I deliberately killed all these emperors. Thinking of this possibility, Emperor Tianong looked a little more doubtful in Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen said at this time, "Okay, don't say this, the war is over, you can deal with the next thing." Speaking of which, Lu Chen turned his head to look at the Thunder Emperor. Immediately, he sent troops to attack the 4 dynasties. "Those who do not fall, you know what to deal with." The emperors said in unison, "I wait for the lead." Nowadays, the four most powerful emperors of the Lingzhou superstar domain have been annihilated, and there is no power to block the expansion of the Xia Dynasty in the Lingzhou superstar domain group. Next, we only need to drive the starships of the Great Xia Dynasty to the star fields of those dynasties, and those dynasties will naturally surrender. Of course, there may be some who will never surrender. For those who never surrender, Lu Chen plans to let the Tianong Queen deal with them. He is not suitable to deal with these things. The War Dragon Army moved very quickly. In less than 2 years, the War Dragon Army controlled the entire Lingzhou Superstar Field Group and brought all the dynasties of the Lingzhou Superstar Field Group under the rule of the Great Xia Dynasty. The luck of the Great Xia Dynasty also soared to a very terrifying level. Even the masters of those top forces could feel the power of the luck of the Great Xia Dynasty. The expansion speed of the Great Xia Dynasty has exceeded that of the Shenyu Dynasty. After the army of the Shenyu Dynasty retreated, it was actually fighting outside, but they could not control a superstar field group in such a short time. This made the top forces in the universe realize that the Great Xia Dynasty was more threatening than the Shenyu Dynasty. For a time, many top forces sent representatives to the Tianji Tower, hoping to get the solution to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty from the Tianji Tower. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Unfortunately, the owner of the Tianji Tower was not seen at all. Shenyu Dynasty, Emperor Star, Palace in the Sky. A woman in white cloud clothes looked at the building on the horizon of Emperor Star and said to Lu Yanghua beside her, "I believe that if our two forces join forces, we will definitely be able to destroy the Great Xia Dynasty." Lu Yanghua said, "It's not just our two forces. More and more forces have realized the threat of the Great Xia Dynasty. The Tianji Tower also intends to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty." End of this chapter. U003C ends U003E. Chapter 1185. Have you thought it through? After hearing Lu Yanghua's words, the Emperor Dawang asked curiously, "I don't know what kind of instructions for the Tianji Tower." Lu Yanghua said faintly, "Sky Machine Tower is waiting for an opportunity." The Emperor of Datsun asked curiously, "Opportunity? What opportunities?" Lu Yanghua said, "This emperor is unclear." The landlord of the Tianji Tower told the emperor like this. The Emperor Dawang thought for a moment. Since it was said by the landlord of the Tianji building, it proved that the landlord of the Tianji Tower should think of the method of dealing with the Xia Dynasty. It seems that it is right with the Shenyu Dynasty alliance. If it can break through the Xia Dynasty, Yunhua Palace may be able to obtain the formation of the Xia Dynasty. For the current female emperor, revenge on Lu Chen is on the one hand, and on the other hand, she wants to get benefits from Lu Chen. After all, there may be a reincarnation of the emperor in the universe everywhere in the universe. If Lu Chen is really reincarnation, there must be a large number of treasures behind him. If you can destroy the Xia Dynasty, these treasures will be obtained by them. At this time, a shadow guard appeared beside Lu Yanghua. When he saw the appearance of the shadow guard, Lu Yanghua's face was dark instantly. "I don't want to tell you that there is no intention to come over." The shadow guard said quickly, "Your Majesty, there is the latest trend of the Xia Dynasty." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua frowned slightly. What was the movement of the Xia Dynasty? The information of the last Xia Dynasty was the four major dynasties in the Lingzhou Superstar Domain united to deal with the Xia Dynasty. It stands to reason that the four major dynasties of the Lingzhou Superstar region are united, and they should barely resist the offensive of the Great Xia Dynasty. After all, the four major dynasties have 9 emperors and many high emperors. Although there are many great emperors in the Xia Dynasty, the number of emperors is far from the number of all 4 dynasties. In this case, the Xia Dynasty has no advantages. It should not be so quickly that the latest intelligence of the Xia Dynasty is. Could the army of the Xia Dynasty withdraw? Lu Yanghua turned to look at the shadow guard who was kneeling on the ground, and said indifferently, "Say." The shadow guard quickly said, "The 4 major dynasties of the Lingzhou Superstar region were completely destroyed by the Xia Dynasty." After hearing the report of the shadow guard, Lu Yanghua and the Emperor of Datsun stunned at the same time. The strength of the four major dynasties of the Xia Dynasty and the Lingzhou Superstar Region Regiment has a certain understanding of their hearts. When they learned that the four dynasties' company became united, both of them thought that the expansion of the Xia Dynasty would end. It's right. The information that came back now is actually the Xia Dynasty controlled the entire spiritual superstar domain. How is this possible? Is it difficult for the Xia Dynasty to appear the Emperor of Nine-Fighter Realm? Otherwise, how did they defeat the four major dynasties' coalition? Lu Yanghua's face collapsed completely and seemed to be more gloomy. Lu Chen was not dead, he was always uneasy, and now he has become even stronger. Those emperors who originally supported him within the Shenyu dynasty would definitely have some thoughts. After all, Lu Chen was also a candidate of the Lord of the Dynasties of the Shenyu dynasty. At this time, the Emperor Dewang also looked ugly, thinking that he could rely on the revenge of the Shenyu dynasty, and won the array of the Xia dynasty and the treasures of the Emperor from the Xia dynasty. But from the strength of the Xia dynasty today, I am afraid that the strength of the Xia dynasty is not as simple as they think. After the two were silent for a moment, Lu Yanghua said to Film, "Continue to monitor the Xia dynasty. There is no way to let the Shadow Health monitor the Xia dynasty now. Nowadays, the expansion speed of the Greater Summer dynasty has far exceeded the Shenyu dynasty. Since the War of the Moon dynasty has launched a war, it has not occupied a superstar regiment. That's not a star domain, nor a star regiment, but a superstar regiment. A superstar regiment contains countless star regiments, hundreds or even thousands of dynasties or various forces, and the Shenyu dynasty has now occupied several star regiments." This gave Lu Yanghua a deep sense of crisis. At this time, the female emperor could not help but doubt whether she was wrong. From the perspective of the Great Xia Dynasty to control the Lingzhou superstar domain, it seems that the strength of the Xia Dynasty is far stronger than the Shenyu Dynasty. She was very confident before, thinking that the Yunhua Palace and the Shenyu Dynasty alliance, and then plus the Tianji building, the Xia Dynasty would not be their opponents. However, after hearing this information, she suddenly had a bad premonition. The great emperor of the Xia Dynasty could defeat, which may indicate that the Xia Dynasty also had the Emperor of the Nine Realms. Even the rumored emperor may be true. In the event of the reincarnation of the emperor, he also awakened the memories of the previous life and had some means to the Nine Emperor's Nine Emperor, which was troublesome. The two were silent for a long time again. After a while, the emperor of the Dengsheng said, "It seems that the strength of the Xia Dynasty is stronger than what we estimate. That is, I don't know what the heavenly machine building is to deal with the Xia Dynasty." Lu Yanghua said, "Since the landlord of Tianchi building said that he wants to wait for the opportunity, it proves that it takes some time to destroy the Xia Dynasty. We just need to wait to see it. Even if the two of them have allied alliances, if the array of the Xia Dynasty cannot be eliminated, then they can only wait. Now they can only continue to wait, waiting for the so-called opportunity mentioned by the owner of Tianji Tower. Xia Dynasty, Tianchen World. Yancheng. Lu Chen's main body floated above Yancheng, feeling the imperial luck of the entire Xia Dynasty. Under the bath of the rich imperial luck, Lu Chen felt very comfortable. Although his main body has not yet broken through again, because of the existence of the Gathering Spirit Array, Lu Chen is no longer as urgent as before. The Gathering Spirit Array can raise his realm to the 9th level of the Great Emperor in a short time, and it is even possible to surpass the 9th level, which is enough for him to deal with the current crisis. As long as the Emperor of Heaven does not come out, the current Xia Dynasty is very safe. At this time, Lu Chen sensed a beautiful figure appearing in Black Dragon City. Lai Hongyun was wearing a red long skirt, and the temperament she exuded was very similar to that of the Tiannong Empress. For a moment, Lu Chen almost mistook Lai Hongyun for the Tiannong Empress. At this time, Lai Hongyun looked up at Lu Chen in the sky. His expression was a little solemn, and he seemed to have made some particularly important decision in his heart. Lu Chen instantly understood Lai Hongyun's thoughts, and his main body came down from the sky without hesitation and came to the yard where Lai Hongyun was. "Have you thought it through?" Lu Chen asked. Lai Hongyun did not answer immediately, she fell into silence. After listening to some words from the Tianong Queen, she felt more and more that she had something to do with Lu Chen's previous life. And she also knew in her heart that now she had fallen into Lu Chen's hands, and what would happen sooner or later. Chapter 1186. New variables appear immediately. From the perspective of interest, it is not bad to become a woman who became Lu Chen. On the one hand, Lu Chen may be the reincarnation emperor. When the robbery arrived, he might know how to deal with the robbery. Of course, for these interests, Lai Hongyun has to abandon some self-esteem. She has been in Tianjin for a while. She also knows about Lu Chen's rumors. It is said that Lu Chen is particularly good at playing with women. Every woman falls into his hands and will eventually be conquered by him. At this time, Lai Hongyun's brows opened slightly, and she did all of this just to overbite. As long as you can survive the big robbery, this sacrifice is nothing. It is not to be insulted by Lu Chen, it doesn't matter. Thinking of this, Lai Hongyun raised the jade head, looking at Lu Chen with his eyes like a ruby. I think it is good. Lu Chen smiled slightly. In this case, let's change a place to talk. When the words fell, Lu Chen and Lai Hongyun's body disappeared in place. When the two appeared again, they had already come to Lai Hongyun's palace. Lai Hongyun fell on the soft couch. The red long skirt split, exposing her slender jade legs. She fell on the soft couch and stared at Lu Chen with a scorching look. There was no desire in her eyes. Seeing the appearance of Lai Hongyun, the flames conquered by Lu Chen were instantly ignited. He pressed directly on Lai Hongyun's body, and then leaned down and kissed her red lips. After feeling the breath of Lu Chen's body, the spiritual power in Lai Hongyun immediately turned restlessly. Her eyes looked at the sky and found that the marriage line on her body was tied her and Lu Chen. When the marriage line is completely tied to them, some feeling in her body seems to be out of control. There is only Lu Chen left in her brain, and even the active stretching out of the jade hand. Essence. The jade hand that felt Lai Hongyun was messy on his body, and Lu Chen froze. He couldn't think of a woman like Lai Hongyun would be so active, evil. Lu Chen slowly got up, and the lips of the two were slightly separated, and then Lu Chen looked down at the loud Hongyun underneath. At the beginning, the indifferent Lai Hongyun was ashamed at this time, and there was a Wangchun water in his eyes. Lu Chen then used spiritual power to explore Lai Hongyun's body and found that Lai Hongyun was already in a state of extremely restlessness at this moment. Lu Chen had so many women. For the first time, he quickly entered the state when he encountered this kind of kiss. Woman. The speed of entering the state is too fast, even more exaggerated than Chu Yunji, a person who cultivates the avenue of love. Seeing that Lu Chen did not continue to kiss herself, Lai Hongyun returned slightly, but the next moment she raised her jade hand, took the initiative to hold Lu Chen's neck, and then kissed again. Seeing that Lai Hongyun was so active, Lu Chen simply no longer wasted time. The next moment, the sound of tearing in the palace was very common in the palace of Lu Chen's palace. When the sound sounded, it means that there will be a more beautiful crying sound soon. At the same time, a star domain, a gorgeous ferry boat floats aimlessly in the void. The purple curtain is hung on the deck of the ferry ship. People cannot see the people on the deck from the outside. There seems to be a stunning fairy on the deck of Shenzhou. Zhan Qingyan, who was a purple dress, sat on the deck of the ferry boat and looked up at the void in the distance. At this time, she gently raised her jade finger, waved to the front, and a projection screen appeared in the projection screen. In front of her eyes. In the projection screen, a man and a woman are doing something crazy, and this pair of men and women is Lu Chen and Lai Hongyun. Seeing the projection picture, Zhan Qingyan's face was very calm, without any emotional fluctuations. After a while, she said to herself, in this life, it should be completely ended. After a glance, Zhan Qingyan didn't continue to watch. She waved again. The picture of Lu Chen and Lai Hongyun disappeared, but another projection picture appeared. In the picture, Lu Yanghua was practicing the gong gong. Suddenly, Lu Yanghua suddenly opened his eyes. He looked around the cultivation secret room, and then said vigilantly, "Who?" Seeing Lu Yangwe noticing that someone was peeping at him, Zhan Qingyan said to himself, "It seems that the Tianxi Tower has bet on him, but unfortunately, the new variable immediately appears." Zhan Qingyan's voice fell. Lu Yangwe suddenly spit out blood. Lu Yangwe quickly covered his chest, and some couldn't believe that he looked down at the blood he spit out. Lu Yangwe wiped the blood in his mouth with his hands, and then looked at his hand again. What's going on? During the talk, a severe pain came from the chest. Lu Yangwe quickly closed his eyes to try to calm down the restless spiritual power in his body, but all this was futile. The spiritual power in his body became more and more disordered. It's as if something is going out of his body. Lu Yanghua's face suddenly showed a frightened look. In his mind, the scene of his usurping was suddenly emerged. After the Emperor of the United Heavenly Tower resolved the Emperor Shenwu at the time, the Emperor Shenwu stared at him before he died, and showed a meaningful smile towards him, and finally said, "We will meet again soon." Lu Yangwe covered his chest and roared in the practice secret room and said, "No, impossible, he is dead. He can't be alive." The next moment, Lu Yanghua's whole person suddenly changed. The corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a smile and saying, "I said, we will see each other soon." After Lu Yangwe finished speaking, his expression returned to a state of fear. He now understood what was going on. The Emperor Shenwu's possession of the body had not failed from the beginning, but it took time to complete. Now the possession technique is about to be completed, and his final outcome is self-evident. Lu Yangwe hurriedly begged for mercy and said, "Father, I have nothing to do with all this. It was the Tianji Tower that threatened me to do this. Father, spare my life." As Lu Yangwe said, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed continuously. Soon, Lu Yanghua's head was broken and bleeding, but at the same time, the blood on his body became thicker and thicker. The next moment, he felt as if his body was about to be torn apart by something. Lu Yangwe immediately started bleeding from all 7 orifices. He gritted his teeth and said, "Since you won't let me live, then we'll die together." At this point, Lu Yangwe was about to explode his soul, but he found that he could no longer control his body and soul. His consciousness was now like a third-party perspective, and he couldn't even control his soul. At this moment, a white and tender hand came out from Lu Yanghua's chest. Lu Yangwe struggled hard, but could only watch his body being stretched. After a while, a white boy came out of Lu Yanghua's body. Chapter 1187 The Resurrection of the Great Emperor Shenwu. Lu Yangwe was lying on the ground, and his eyes widened and looked at the boy who drilled out of his body. The boy glanced at Lu Yangwe with scornful eyes, and then said with a tender voice, "I give you, only you can only give you, only you can only give you. It's yours, you don't give you something, you can't grab it." Quote. I want to write here, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Hearing this, there was endless hatred in Lu Yanghua's eyes. He thought he had won everything, but he did not expect to make a wedding dress for others in the end. Hatred. Intersection. He hates. Intersection. He is unwilling. Intersection. Seeing Lu Yanghua's hateful eyes, the Emperor Shenwu said with a disdain, "You have seen such a look like you don't know how much, but unfortunately, the people who show this kind of look eventually died in front of my eyes. Okay, your task is completed, and it's time to get on the road." During the talk, the full version of the Gods of Shenwu Grand Emperor's operation. For a time, the blood and killing power of Lu Yangwe all gathered on the Emperor of Shenwu. The appearance of Shenwu was as light as before. At this time, Lu Yangwe had become a corpse. The Emperor Shenwu felt the power in the body, and then said to himself, "The heavenly building is really good, but unfortunately you underestimate you." When the words of the Emperor Shenwu fell, the Emperor of the Night Soul and Xuanline appeared in front of the Emperor Shenwu, and said to the Emperor Shenwu, "Congratulations to His Majesty to get a new life." The Emperor Shenwu nodded lightly. At the beginning, the Emperor of the Night Soul and the Emperor Xuanline knew that the winning house of the Emperor Shenwu was not over. The reason why they stood on the side of Lu Yangwe at the beginning and helped Lucy Road. The situation of Yang Hua's stabilization of the Xia Dynasty was waiting for the completion of Shenwu Great At this time, the Emperor Yehun said, His Majesty should know about the Big Summer Dynasty. The Emperor Shenwu completed his flesh and blood, and Liu Yanghua's memory should also be read by the Emperor Shenwu. He probably knew what happened during this time. Hearing the words of the Emperor Yi Sol, the face of the Emperor Shenwu was gloomy for an instant. He naturally read the memory of Liu Yanghua, knew everything that happened in the Xia Dynasty, and knew that Lu Chen might be the emperor. The Emperor Shenwu sneered, and then said, I really did not expect that my son may be the reincarnation of the emperor. The existence of Lu Chen has seriously threatened the Shenyu dynasty. What the Shenyu dynasty would do next is to dominate the entire universe, but today the Xia dynasty is actually faster than the expansion of the Shenyu dynasty. The most important thing is that the enchantment of the Xia dynasty even felt tricky. Zantian has not found the way to break through the enchantment of the Xia dynasty. If the Xia dynasty continued to develop again, I am afraid that even if Lu Chen was not reincarnated by the emperor, he would soon become the emperor. One of the reasons why Emperor Shenwu wanted to dominate was to seize the position of the emperor. As his strength continued to improve, he faintly had a feeling that a universe could only be born of a heavenly emperor. If Lu Chen became the emperor before him, he would be difficult to break through, so he had to curb the expansion of the Xia dynasty, and he could not make the Xia dynasty more luck. After the Emperor Shenwu was silent for a moment, he said unwillingly, It seems that the cooperation with the Tianji building is not yet broken. Although the Tianji building calculated him when he took the house, it seems that only the Tianji tower has the ability to break the enchantment of the Xia dynasty. If there is no way to break the great nations of the Xia dynasty, even if the Shenyu dynasty sent an army to attack the Xia dynasty, it could only return without success. After the Emperor Shenwu thought for a while, he said to the Emperor of the Night Soul, Tell the emperors of the Tiandai building, I have been resurrected, and soon I will go to the Tianxi tower in person. The Emperor Yi Sol immediately said, Yes, His Majesty. Immediately afterwards, the Emperor of the Yi Sol turned around and disappeared. When the Night Soul Emperor appeared again, he had already come to the place where the great emperors of the Tiandi tower were retreating. When the great emperors in the machine building felt the appearance of High Realm, they suddenly opened their eyes. These emperors in the Tianxi building know how Liu Yanghua has been successfully ascended, so they are more worried that the 2 heavy emperors of the Shenyu dynasty will discover the truth one day, so they will come to find them, alert. When seeing the Emperor of the Night Soul, a great emperor asked with a smile, I don't know what the predecessors come here. The Emperor Yehun said with no expression, Her Majesty asked me to tell you a word. Hearing this, the emperors of the Tiandi building were stunned. Liu Yanghua has always been under their control. If there is anything wrong with Liu Yanghua, it will inevitably tell them first, instead of looking for the emperor of the Shenyu dynasty. How did Liu Yanghua let a 9-way emperor this time pass? Could it be that Liu Yanghua felt that the Shenyu dynasty had the allies of Yunhua Palace, and he was no longer afraid of the heavenly machine building? Thinking of this, the emperor's face was dark instantly, and then he said badly, I don't know what the Majesty is going to convey. Seeing that the emperor of the Tianji building dumped his face in front of him, the Emperor Yi Sol guessed that the other party must be misunderstood. They estimated that Liu Yanghua asked him to make a speech. Emperor Yehun did not immediately turn hostile because of the other party's tone. Now is not the time to turn hostile to Tianji Tower. Their Majesty still has some plans. Then Emperor Yehun said, The Majesty I am talking about is His Majesty Shenwu. Hearing this, the emperors of Tianji Tower were stunned for a moment. The emperor who had just spoken was frightened and his face turned pale. He stammered, No, impossible. He is not. The emperor did not continue to speak. He had reacted at this time. They felt that Emperor Shenwu died too quickly at the beginning. Emperor Shenwu was at least an emperor of the 9th level, and he was also a killing emperor. How could he be killed so easily by them? Logically speaking, according to Emperor Shenwu's character, even if he died, he would drag all the emperors who harmed him down, but he did not. For a time, the hall was silent, the air became dull and depressing, and the sound of people's breathing could be heard. If the Emperor Shenwu is resurrected, he must know that all this is the work of Tianji Tower behind the scenes, so is the Emperor Shenwu going to deal with Tianji Tower next? The Emperor Shenwu had destroyed a branch of Tianji Tower before, and if he were to do it, none of the emperors of Tianji Tower present would survive. At this time, an emperor of Tianji Tower trembled and asked, "No. I don't know what instructions His Majesty Shenwu has." Seeing that the emperors present were trembling with fear, Emperor Yehun couldn't help but chuckle, and then said, "His Majesty asked you to tell your tower owner that he has been resurrected and he will come to Tianji Tower soon." Chapter 1188. Do you really think that I have no way to deal with you? After hearing the words of the Emperor Yi Sol, the Emperor of the Sky Machine Tower suddenly felt that the sky collapsed. As a great emperor who was reported, the Emperor Shenwu said this, "Does that mean that the Emperor Shenwu is going to fight against the Tianxi Tower?" What he said should go to the Tiandi building in person. The Emperor of the Night Soul ignored the reaction of the Emperor of the Machine Tower. He then said, "The words have been brought, you can do it." When the words fell, the Emperor of the Yi Soul turned away. He did not shoot these emperors. According to the character of Shenwu Emperor, these emperors will be cleaned up sooner or later, and he is not in a hurry. Not only these great emperors, the probability of the heavenly machine in the future will be destroyed by the Emperor Shenwu. After seeing the Emperor of the Night Soul leave, you look at me at the Emperor of the Tiantian building. I look at you. The next moment, they all fled, all of the Xia Dynasty. Now that the Emperor Shenwu is resurrected, as the person who calculates the Emperor Shenwu, if you continue to stay in the Xia Dynasty, sooner or later will be liquidated by the Emperor Shenwu. The Xia Dynasty did not stop the people from the Heavenly Machine Tower left. It didn't take long for the great emperors of the Tianxi Tower to return to the Tianxi Tower. The first time they returned to the Tiantian building, they went to Zantian. At this time, Zantian was retreating. A great emperor came outside the Starbase Pavilion and watched. The gatekeeper at the gate of the Starry Pavilion said, "Immediately inform the original poster, I have very urgent information." The emperor who guarded the door glanced at the emperor who came back from the Xia Dynasty, and then said faintly, "There is an order in the landlord." During his retreat, no one saw it. No matter what happened, he would wait for him to end the retreat. When I heard this, Emperor Tingyan frowned. After the resurrection of the Emperor Shenwu, maybe it would be time to attack the Tiandi building. At this time, the landlord was still retreat. Except, the Emperor Tingyan said to the gate of the door directly, "The Emperor Shenwu is resurrected, and he will soon attack the Tiandi building. I believe you should know how important this information is." When he heard the words of the Emperor Tingyan, the face of the door became pale in an instant. "Shenwu Emperor, isn't he dead? How can he be resurrected?" The gate guard asked a little on the door. Emperor Tingyan replied, "We were all deceived by him. His grand plan has not failed at all, he pretended to be dead." The gate of the door thought for a moment, and then said, "I will notify it. This situation is no longer an urgent situation. You must quickly tell the landlord, otherwise the army of the gods will come. If they are not ready, it will be troublesome." The gate guard opened the Shiman of Shinkong Pavilion directly. When he opened the stone gate, Zantian, who was sitting in the center of Starry Pavilion, opened his eyes. The coercion on his body was released instantly. Lying on the ground. "This seat hasn't told you. No matter what happens, don't disturb this seat. Why, don't you even listen to your words?" At this time, the Emperor Tingyan said quickly at the door, "The landlord, the Emperor of the God, is resurrected. He said he will go to the Tianxi Tower in person soon." Hearing this, Zantian's brain was stunned. Then he withdrew the coercion and immediately asked, "Resurrection?" Emperor Tingyan was relieved, and quickly said, "We don't know what's going on." The Night Soul beside Shenwu Emperor suddenly ran to tell us, "Let us bring you a sentence, saying that the Emperor Shenwu was resurrected, and soon the Emperor Shenwu was resurrected. He will go to the Tianxi Tower in person." After listening to the words of Emperor Tingyan, Zantian was in contemplation, and his face was cloudy. After a while, he raised his hand and waved in front of him. In the picture, the Emperor Shenwu was very young. At this time, the Shenwu Emperor looked very young. He sat on the brilliant dragon chair and looked down at the emperors below. At this time, the Emperor Shenwu suddenly looked up at the air. The corner of his mouth rose slightly, and then said, Xuanlu, the Emperor will come to heaven in person, let's talk about the Big Summer Dynasty. Hearing the words of Shenwu, Zhan Tian's face became more gloomy. The Emperor Shenwu was really resurrected, but he couldn't figure it out. He obviously felt that all the breath of the Emperor Shenwu had dissipated, and the soul dissipated. How did he survive? Shouldn't there be something he didn't know about this universe? Thinking of this, Zhan Tian suddenly reacted. This universe did exist that he could not explore, that was something related to Lu Chen, and everything related to that woman. And the woman's ability to block the sky is very interesting. Once she uses the power of the sky, even if he is likely to find abnormalities. The probability of the Emperor Shenwu was done by that woman. Thinking of this, the momentum on Zhan Tian suddenly skyrocketed. The starry sky of the starry pavilion became crumbling at this moment, and even the universe space of the star pavilion had cracks. Zhan Tian said to himself, you really think that there is no way to take you in this seat? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Speaking of which, Zhan Tian's eyes appeared blood. Although he said so, he was very clear that he really couldn't help that woman. If he had a way to get the woman out, she had already sent her out, and the woman was parasitic in the universe like this parasite. He had tried to send her out many times, but failed every time. In the end, he had no choice but to live in harmony with her and let her become the saint of Tianji Tower. The woman had never been against him before, but since Lu Chen appeared, the woman had been causing trouble for him again and again. Xuantian was startled, and he suddenly understood something. Since Lu Chen appeared, the woman had been causing trouble for him everywhere, and even wanted to make the universe collapse earlier. Is there a possibility that this woman is Lu Chen's person, and in order to make Lu Chen leave this universe as soon as possible, she would want to destroy this universe as soon as possible? As long as this universe is destroyed, Lu Chen can escape and ascend to heaven. Thinking of this possibility, Xuantian felt even more uncomfortable. Now that Lu Chen has a fairy weapon, it is already difficult enough to deal with. If that woman is added, it will be even more troublesome. However, the Great Emperor Shenwu may be able to take advantage of it. Although the Great Emperor Shenwu seems to have become much stronger after his resurrection this time, as long as he is in this universe and as long as the Great Emperor Shenwu has not broken through to a higher realm, he will not be able to stir up any waves. Moreover, the Emperor Shenwu just said that he wanted to talk to him about the affairs of the Great Xia Dynasty, which proved that the Emperor Shenwu also understood that the Great Xia Dynasty had seriously threatened the Emperor Shenwu. But there was one thing he couldn't figure out: why would that woman help the Emperor Shenwu hide the secret? Now that the Emperor Shenwu has resurrected, he wants to cause trouble for the Great Xia Dynasty. If she is really on Lu Chen's side, she shouldn't create such a powerful enemy for Lu Chen. Chapter 1189, Saint-Level Swordsmanship. Zhan Tian really couldn't understand these things Zhan Qingyan did, but no matter what Zhan Qingyan did, Zhan Qingyan and his position were relative. Zhan Tian would still prevent her. Zhan Tian feels that it is not a way to continue this way. He must destroy the fairyware on the hands of Lu Chen as soon as possible. Now the best way is to use the power of Shenwu Emperor. He can first help Shenwu Emperor become stronger, and then try to use Shenwu Emperor to deal with Lu Chen. Although this universe is Xuantian's body world, he has no way to completely control what happened in the body of the body. For example, he can only find a way to discharge the immortal, and there is no way to destroy the fairy. This is the same as that in all the human body growing stones. People can only use external forces to destroy stones, and there is no way to rely on their own power to get stones out. After making up his mind in his heart, Zhan Tian took out a long gun and said to the Emperor Tengyan, "Give this long gun to the Emperor Shenwu, and let him congratulate him to resurrect. It is very suitable for him." Quote. The moment Zhan Tian's long gun was taken out, a horrible pressure covered the entire star gallery. The Emperor Tengyan and the gate were suddenly breathless. The sacred magic gun on Zhan Tian's hand exudes hematopoietic red evil spirits, and the strong evil spirit just makes people feel chilling. The coercion emitted by the holy demon gun made the Emperor Tengyan from getting closer, let alone come over to catch the holy magic gun. Zhan Tian reacted at this time. He waved his hand and appeared on the Saint Demon gun. After a moment of kung fu, the coercion of the holy demon gun dissipated, and the Emperor Tengyan was relieved. As soon as Xuantian waved his hand, the holy demon gun took the initiative to fly to the hands of Emperor Tengyan. Emperor Tengyan immediately caught the holy demon gun. It is subordinates to go to the Xia Dynasty. Emperor Tengyan just fled from the Xia Dynasty. At this time, he didn't want to go to the Xia Dynasty, but this was Zhan Tian's order. He could only go to the Xia Dynasty again. He only hoped that after the Emperor Shenwu saw this long gun, the anger in his heart could be reduced. Nympho, Tianqian World. In the palace of Lai Hongyun, the sound of crying was still echoing. Since the exposure to Lu Chen's body, Lai Hongyun was tied up by the marriage line and could only let it go. I didn't know how long, and Lu Chen stopped at the atrocities. He glanced at the system interface. Congratulations to the host for getting a wife and concubine, rewarding the sacred sword swordsmanship blood soul cut. Seeing that it was the sacred sword method, Lu Chen showed a smile on his face, and finally rewarded a set of sacred swordsmanship. He used the heavenly swordsmanship and the heavenly skills. Although most of the great emperors, the most powerful exercises in swordsmanship that can be exposed in this life are the heavenly steps, but Lu Chen is using the Tianji sword during the method and exercises. I always feel that the swordsmanship and the exercises are not very matched with myself. Perhaps because he has the power of all the avenues, the general swordsmanship and exercises are too simple for him. Lu Chen has always wondered when the system can reward him with a higher level swordsmanship, and now it is finally here. If the holy swordsmanship is learned, with the blessing of Julinghe, he should be able to explore the strength beyond the emperor. At this time, Lai Hongyun lying under Lu Chen looked at Lu Chen's eyes and looked aside, and her body didn't move. She seemed to be thinking about something. She asked curiously, "What are you thinking?" Hearing Lai Hongyun's voice, Lu Chen returned to God. He smiled slightly, then raised his hand, stroking Lai Hongyun's jade cheek, and stared at her beautiful eyes and said, "I think, why do you change? Be proactive." When she heard this, Lai Hongyun's body trembled slightly. Lu Chen said so that she reacted. When she thought of being flattering to Lu Chen during this time, she felt like she was crazy. How could she do these things? Lai Hongyun glanced at the marriage line on her body at this time, and found that she and Lu Chen really tied together. Lai Hongyun thought in his heart that maybe all this was caused by this marriage line, because the marriage line tied the two of them together, and she would do those flattering behaviors to Lu Chen. But no matter what the reason, as a reincarnation emperor, doing those things will make her feel very ashamed. How did she have done these men in the past? Seeing Lai Hongyun fell into silence, his face was cold, and Lu Chen said with a smile, "Now you don't have a flavor." Lai Hongyun took a bit of the emotions in her heart. Since things have happened, everything is useless, and she is active. Now that you have made a decision in your heart, you can only continue along this road. When Lai Hongyun thought like this, suddenly, she found that the bottleneck of her realm was loose at this moment. Then, a magnificent force came out of the body, and then her realm continued to rise up. Just for a moment, her realm broke through to the Emperor's two, and felt that her cultivation was restored to the Emperor's two realm, and Lai Hongyun was stunned. She couldn't believe it was true. Although she heard the Emperor Tianong said that after doing these things with Lu Chen, her cultivation was likely to improve, but she thought she would have to work many times. Unexpectedly, she directly helped her to rush to the Emperor. There is no wrong one. One time, one by one. So easy to break through. What did she be desperately practicing before? Thinking of the past, Lai Hongyun's heart was a little confused, and her Dao heart began to become unstable. Lu Chen noticed that Lai Hongyun's state was a little wrong, and he immediately took action to infuse the power of the origin into Lai Hongyun's body. The power of the origin entered her body, quickly calmed the restless Dao power in her body, and soon calmed Lai Hongyun's heart. Lai Hongyun stared into Lu Chen's eyes, wanting to say something, but didn't know what to say. Lu Chen smiled and asked, "Your Dao heart is unstable just now. You don't need to think about it, just think of me as your opportunity." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Lai Hongyun suddenly woke up. Yes, it is not normal to encounter some opportunities on the road of cultivation, and she doesn't need to care too much about them. The road of cultivation is accompanied by various unexpected situations. Most of those who can make it to the end have various opportunities. Now Lu Chen is her opportunity. Thinking of this, Lai Hongyun's Dao heart became stable again. There was no problem with her cultivation path. This success was just because she encountered the greatest opportunity in her life. Lai Hongyun looked at the marriage line between the two again. At this time, the marriage line had slowly loosened, and her emotions gradually regained their rationality. Lai Hongyun said at this time, "I may be the incarnation of Tianong Empress." Hearing this, Lu Chen asked in confusion, "Very likely. Why do you say that?" Lu Chen did feel that Lai Hongyun and Tianong Empress had many similarities, especially their temperaments. Chapter 1190 Lai Hongyun and Amp, #039, S Intuition. When Lu Chen was working with Lai Hongyun, he felt from time to time that the person in front of him was the Empress Tianong herself. He didn't think too much about it. After all, he had so many confidants, and it was normal for one or two of them to have similar personalities. But now it seems that there is more to Lai Hongyun and Empress Tianong than just similar personalities. Lai Hongyun said at this time, "I can feel that there is a connection between me and her. Although there is no cause and effect between us, it is probably because she cut off the cause and effect between me and me in the past." Hearing Lai Hongyun's words, Lu Chen hugged Lai Hongyun and turned over, letting Lai Hongyun lie on his chest. He looked at the curtain above his head and fell into deep thought. Empress Tianong took the initiative to cut off the cause and effect. Could it be that Lai Hongyun did something to let Empress Tianong down, such as her secondary body lost her innocence, and the main body could not bear that she had lost her innocence, so she took the initiative to cut off the cause and effect? Forget it, why think about it? Lu Chen then said, "It's her clone, it doesn't matter, you are all my women now. As long as there is no conflict between you, you can live in harmony." Lu Chen didn't care much about who was the main body and who was the clone between Lai Hongyun and Tianong Empress. There were also main bodies and clones serving him at the same time in his harem. For example, Chu Yunji and Chu Yukin, Lu Qingyan and Lu Qingqiu, now their main bodies and clones can live in harmony. Lu Chen believed that under his leadership, even if Lai Hongyun and Tianong Empress were really the secondary body and the main body, they could live in harmony. Lai Hongyun didn't say much at this time, she just lay quietly on Lu Chen's chest. She didn't really care about this, she was just a little curious about why the cause and effect between her and Tianong Empress was cut off. She and Tianong Empress both lost a lot of memory, but they didn't know what this part of memory was. Lai Hongyun had a hunch that the memory they lost was related to the man next to her. After all, after she and Lu Chen met for the first time, there was a cause and effect between them, and she was also entangled with a marriage line. People who can have a cause and effect and a marriage line when they meet for the first time are most likely because of some relationship in the previous life, or the previous life. There is no Lu Chen in her memory of her previous life, which means that even if Lu Chen and she had any entanglement, it was in the previous life, or even more previous lives. It is not uncommon for an emperor to reincarnate several times, and when the emperor reincarnates, some memories will always be lost. Perhaps the memory of Lu Chen was lost in the process of reincarnation. Lai Hongyun did not think about it anymore. As long as she continued to stay by Lu Chen's side, she believed that one day she would figure out the relationship between her, Tianong Empress and Lu Chen. Now I can't think of anything, just let everything go. Shenyu Dynasty. After the return of Emperor Shenwu, the hidden emperors of Shenyu Dynasty came out one by one. At this time, more than 30 emperors stood in the main hall of Xuanzheng Hall, and there were 2 more emperors in the 9th level. Originally, the emperors of those forces were unwilling to come out and work for the Shenyu Dynasty, especially after they learned that the Emperor Shenwu had fallen. They were even more unwilling to be loyal to the Shenyu Dynasty. In the eyes of some emperors, Liu Yangwu was just a puppet supported by the Tianji Tower and had no ability at all. Even if they did not respond to Liu Yanghua's call, Liu Yangwu would not dare to do anything to them. But the Emperor Shenwu was different. After hearing that the Emperor Shenwu had been resurrected, some emperors in the Shenyu dynasty came to the Emperor Star to congratulate him before he even opened his mouth. Not to mention that after the Emperor Shenwu was resurrected, he directly issued an imperial decree, requiring all the emperors of the Shenyu dynasty to come to the Emperor Star. As soon as the Emperor Shenwu's decree was issued, no one dared to listen, not to mention that the Emperor Shenwu had come back from the dead, and no one could say whether the Emperor Shenwu had touched the threshold of taking that step. The Emperor Shenwu today is even more feared than the Emperor Shenwu before he came back from the dead. It is impossible for him to come back from the dead simply. In people's eyes, the Emperor Shenwu must have realized something. The Emperor Shenwu glanced at the emperors in the hall, and then said indifferently, "I heard that many people had some thoughts that they shouldn't have during my retreat." Hearing this, the emperors present lowered their heads one by one, not daring to look up at the Emperor Shenwu. Although the Emperor Shenwu did not deliberately exude his imperial power, the emperors present still felt as if a mountain was pressing on their chests, and they even found it difficult to breathe. The great Emperor Shenwu sneered and said, "It seems that you really think I am dead." After the great Emperor Shenwu finished speaking, all the great emperors present knelt down immediately. At this moment, the great Emperor Shenwu did not continue to speak. The great emperors in the hall were sweating profusely, and they did not dare to use their strength to wipe off the sweat on their bodies at this time. They could only let the sweat flow. After a while, just as the great Emperor Shenwu was about to continue to beat the great emperors present, suddenly an emperor entered the hall and said tremblingly, "Your Majesty. Your Majesty, the messenger from Tianji Tower is here." Hearing this, the atmosphere in the hall became more dull and weird. People did not even dare to breathe, and breathing at this time might make a sound. Emperor Shenwu had no expression on his face. He looked at the entrance of the hall, as if thinking about something. After a quarter of an hour, Emperor Shenwu said, "Let him in." The moment he entered the hall, Emperor Tengyan knelt on the ground like the other emperors in the hall, and hurriedly said, "Greetings, Your Majesty Shenwu." In theory, Emperor Tengyan was an envoy sent by Tianji Tower and did not need to kneel. But Emperor Tengyan knew very well what he had done. If he did not kneel, if he angered Emperor Shenwu, he might not be able to leave today. Emperor Shenwu did not pursue what Emperor Tengyan had done at this time. He asked indifferently, "What did the owner of the Xuanlu send you for?" Emperor Tengyan said quickly, "The owner of the Xuanlu congratulates His Majesty Shenwu on his resurrection, and asked me to bring a weapon as a gift to His Majesty." The owner of the Xuanlu said that His Majesty would definitely like this weapon very much. After the voice fell, Emperor Tengyan took out the holy demon spear from the space ring. Emperor Shenwu frowned slightly. "Oh, has the owner of the Xuanlu suddenly become so kind?" Emperor Shenwu certainly knew that Xuantian was going to apologize. After all, they still had a common enemy to deal with. Emperor Tengyan offered the holy demon spear with both hands, lowered his head, and did not speak. Emperor Shenwu then raised his hand, and the holy demon spear in Emperor Tengyan's hand flew directly into the hand of Emperor Shenwu. End of this chapter. Chapter 1191 Unsealing the Holy Demonic Spear. After Emperor Shenwu got the holy demon spear, he looked at it carefully. Even though there was a seal on the holy demon spear, Emperor Shenwu had already felt the majestic evil spirit emanating from it. The holy demon spear was very agitated in Emperor Shenwu's hand, just like a baby seeing its mother. Emperor Shenwu then broke the seal on the holy demon spear. The moment the seal was broken, the blood inside the holy demon spear instantly spread throughout the room. A terrifying pressure descended on the entire hall. Some emperors with lower realms in the hall were directly pressed to the ground by the pressure of the holy demon spear and could not raise their heads. After feeling the pressure emanating from the holy demon spear, Emperor Shenwu couldn't help but smile. This spear was simply tailor-made for him. The holy demon spear was of the holy rank, and even touched the threshold of the emperor's weapon. Just by getting the holy demon spear, Emperor Shenwu felt a trace of the power of origin. However, the holy demon spear seemed to have not seen blood and had not been truly unsealed. At this time, the eyes of the Emperor Shenwu fell on the Emperor Tengyan in the hall. The Emperor Shenwu immediately understood why Xuantian asked Emperor Tengyan to send the holy demon spear. During his possession of the body, Emperor Tengyan showed off his power in the Xia Dynasty, and Emperor Tengyan also participated in the action against him. Xuantian asked Emperor Tengyan to send the holy weapon just to send Emperor Tengyan as a scapegoat to the Xia Dynasty for disposal, and the holy demon spear happened to need to see blood and be unsealed. At this time, Emperor Tengyan did not know that danger was coming. When he saw that Emperor Shenwu had obtained the holy demon spear, he showed a satisfied smile on his face and thought that this time it was over. Then he said, "Since the words have been delivered, I should go back." At this point, Emperor Tengyan was ready to get up and leave the Xia Dynasty. However, at this moment, the pressure on Emperor Shenwu was instantly released, and the killing power immediately enveloped the entire hall. Seeing this scene, Emperor Tengyan was frightened and dared not move. He hurriedly said, "Your Majesty. What does Your Majesty mean? Are you dissatisfied with this weapon?" Emperor Shenwu said lightly, "I am very satisfied with this holy weapon, but your host also gave me a gift." Hearing this, Emperor Tengyan was confused. "There is another gift. What gift?" As the person who gave the gift, how could he not know that their host also gave a gift? Emperor Shenwu said, "That is the unsealing sacrifice of this holy demon spear." Hearing this, Emperor Tengyan's face turned pale. He instantly understood what Emperor Shenwu meant. He also understood why Xuantian asked him, the emperor who had just left the Xia Dynasty, to come to the Xia Dynasty to give gifts. This is obviously pushing everything that happened in the Xia Dynasty onto him, making him a scapegoat. In this way, Emperor Shenwu and Xuantian also have a way out, and there is no need for the Xia Dynasty and Tianji Tower to tear each other apart. After thinking this through, Emperor Tengyan did not hesitate at all. His body turned into a stream of light and rushed directly to the door of the hall. He would surely die if he stayed here. Now the only way left was to escape. As the controller of the Xia Dynasty, it was easy for Emperor Shenwu to kill an emperor on the Emperor Star. At the moment when Emperor Tengyan escaped from the Imperial Palace, Emperor Shenwu infused the power of killing into the Holy Demon Spear. The Holy Demon Spear stained with the power of killing became extremely manic, and the pressure released became even more terrifying. At this time, the Holy Demon Spear was eager to try, and it urgently needed the blood of the Emperor to help him completely unseal it. After Emperor Shenwu felt the restlessness of the Holy Demon Spear, he threw it directly without any hesitation. The Holy Demon Spear, carrying the power of killing, turned into a blood dragon and rushed straight towards Emperor Tengyan. Before Emperor Tengyan could escape from the imperial capital, the blood dragon appeared behind him. After Emperor Tengyan felt the threat, he turned his head and found that the Holy Demon Spear had stabbed him. He quickly summoned the Dharma image to resist. As a result, the next moment, the Holy Demon Spear suddenly accelerated and passed directly through his body. No! With an unwilling roar from Emperor Tengyan's soul completely dissipated, and the blood on his body was also sucked dry, leaving only a shriveled corpse. After seeing what happened outside the hall, the emperors in the hall were frightened and pale. At this time, the Emperor Shenwu raised his hand, and the Holy Demon Spear returned to his hand. Feeling the increase brought by the blood on the Holy Demon Spear, the Emperor Shenwu's desire to kill became stronger. At this time, Emperor Yehun reminded, "Your Majesty, the Tianji Tower has evil intentions. The weapons they sent should be carefully checked. They were tricked by the Tianji Tower once before. If the Emperor Shenwu had not prepared many ways to seize the body from the beginning, he would probably have been killed by the Tianji Tower. Now that the Tianji Tower has sent another gift, no one knows whether there is any curse on this holy weapon. Perhaps the Tianji Tower has no good intentions this time." Emperor Shenwu said, "I have carefully checked it. This holy weapon is made of the blood and souls of countless quasi-emperors. It may be difficult for ordinary emperors to control it, but it is just right for me." Seeing that Emperor Shenwu had no doubts about this holy weapon, Emperor Yehun did not say anything else. Emperor Shenwu said at this time, since Tianji Tower has apologized, let's stop this matter. I should go to Tianji Tower and discuss the matter of the Great Xia Dynasty with Xuantian. At this point, Emperor Shenwu's body disappeared on the spot, and the emperor's present hurriedly said, "Farewell, Your Majesty Shenwu." At the same time, in the Great Xia Dynasty, Lingzhou Superstar Region Group. In a certain star region, Lu Chen's clone was patrolling on a starship. At this time, a panicked emperor suddenly appeared in the distance. The emperor did not know that Lu Chen was on the starship in front of him. He passed by the starship directly, looking very anxious. Lu Chen was a little curious. Why was the emperor so flustered? He directly sent a voice message. "Wait a minute, why are you so flustered? What happened outside?" The outside that Lu Chen mentioned was naturally outside the Great Xia Dynasty. The emperor was startled when he heard Lu Chen's voice. He quickly stopped, saluted to the starship and said, "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." After the salute, the emperor quickly said, "Your Majesty, now it is said outside that the Emperor Shenwu has been resurrected." Hearing this information, Lu Chen's brain was stunned. The Emperor Shenwu has been resurrected. End of this chapter. Chapter 1192. Don't you have anything to say to me? Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted. He had felt that the Emperor Shenwu would not die so easily. The Emperor Shenwu was the emperor of killing in the 9th layer. How could he be killed so easily by Liu Yanghua, who is not even an emperor? When he heard the news of the Emperor Shenwu's death, Lu Chen felt that the Emperor Shenwu was faking his death, or that the Emperor Shenwu had a bigger conspiracy. Now it seems that his intuition was indeed correct, and the Emperor Shenwu did not die. However, in this case, will the Emperor Shenwu settle accounts with the Tianji Tower? Lu Chen flew out of the starship, looked at the Emperor in the void and said, "What other information do you have? Tell me all at once." The Emperor continued, "It is rumored that the Tianji Tower sent the culprit who colluded with Liu Yanghua to usurp the throne to the Shenyu dynasty, and the Tianji Tower also presented a holy artifact as an apology gift." Hearing this, Lu Chen thought to himself that according to the temper of the Emperor Shenwu, he should not easily forgive the Tianji Tower, right? Tianji Tower almost killed him. Emperor Shenwu has always been vindictive and it is impossible for him not to take revenge. However, at this time, the Emperor spoke again. It is said that Emperor Shenwu has forgiven Tianji Tower, and Emperor Shenwu personally went to Tianji Tower to discuss some important matters with the owner of Tianji Tower. Lu Chen was slightly stunned. Emperor Shenwu was usurped and almost died. He could still forgive Tianji Tower. He was just thinking about reaping the benefits, but it seems that there is no hope. This is a bit strange. According to the character of Emperor Shenwu, he should not be so weak. Lu Chen then asked, "What is the so-called important matter?" The emperor replied, "I don't know this either." Lu Chen fell into deep thought. If Emperor Shenwu could think it was important, it must be something that could threaten the existence of Emperor Shenwu. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly thought of something. For now, the one who can directly threaten the Emperor Shenwu is probably himself, right? So, the Emperor Shenwu went to find the Tianji Tower, probably to unite with the Tianji Tower to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty. After thinking of this possibility, Lu Chen smiled faintly. Now it depends on whether the Tianji Tower can break the fairy umbrella barrier. If the Tianji Tower has no way, then even if the Tianji Tower and the Shenyu dynasty form an alliance again, it will not pose any threat to the Great Xia Dynasty. I just don't know what the foundation of the Tianji Tower is. The history of the Tianji Tower is relatively long, and the origin of the owner of the Tianji Tower is also relatively mysterious. After Lu Chen awakened the memory of the last era, he found that there seemed to be a Tianji Tower in the last era. At that time, the Tianji Tower was not a huge force. There was only a world called Tianji Star, but the controller on Tianji Star was very powerful. Even after he became the Emperor of Heaven in the last era, he did not dare to provoke the owner of Tianji Star. Lu Chen suspected that there might be some relationship between the Tianji Tower and Tianji Star in the last era. If so, then the Tianji Tower might really be able to find a way to deal with the immortal weapon. But then again, now that he has reached the strength of the Emperor of Heaven by using the Gathering Spirit Array, and with the immortal weapon, the God-breaking sword, his strength may have surpassed the Emperor of Heaven. As far as his strength is concerned, even if the Tianji Tower and the Shenyu Dynasty find a way to break through the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty, he has the confidence to defeat these two forces. Thinking of this, Lu Chen stopped thinking about it, and then he said to the emperor in front of him, "Continue to pay attention to the movements of the Shenyu Dynasty and the Tianji Tower. If they have any new actions, tell me immediately." The emperor said, "Yes, Your Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." As soon as the voice fell, the emperor was about to leave. Lu Chen suddenly thought of something and immediately said, "Wait, take this puppet with you." Seeing that it was Lu Chen's puppet, Emperor Yuanai hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, you must not do that. The cultivation world is very taboo about witchcraft. He is an emperor who collects intelligence. If he holds Lu Chen's puppet, if someone knows about it, they will definitely say that he has ulterior motives and wants to use the puppet to curse the Emperor of Heaven. He dare not take Lu Chen's puppet." Lu Chen said lightly, "This is my incarnation. If you have any intelligence in the future, you can report it directly to him." As Lu Chen finished speaking, the puppet came to life and jumped directly onto Emperor Yuanai's shoulder. Emperor Yuanai had no choice but to say, "I know. If Your Majesty has no other instructions, I will leave first." "Okay, get busy." As Lu Chen finished speaking, Emperor Yuanai left. Looking at the back of Emperor Yuanai, Lu Chen fell into deep thought again. After Emperor Shenwu found Tianji Tower this time, their two major forces should take action. Nowadays, the universe is becoming more and more chaotic, the number of demons is growing exponentially every day, the entire universe is already in a state of imminent destruction, the smell of gunpowder between the superpowers is getting stronger and stronger, the great melee of this era will soon begin, so the Great Xia Dynasty must also be prepared. After thinking for a moment, Lu Chen immediately controlled his clones to speed up what they were doing. Lu Chen now has a growing sense of crisis, especially after annexing the Lingzhou superstar region. With the increase of the dynasty's luck, he sensed something that he had never sensed before. He always felt that something was staring at him, as if all his actions were under the observation of a pair of eyes. Tianji Tower, Starry Sky Pavilion. In the Starry Sky Pavilion, two powerful pressures occupied half each, and the two pressures were equally strong. At this moment, space cracks appeared in the starry sky of the Starry Sky Pavilion. The red pupils of the Emperor Shenwu stared at Xuantian sitting in the starry sky, and the killing power on his body could not stop overflowing. Half of the Starry Sky Pavilion turned red and half turned black. Seeing Xuantian sitting in the starry sky without any intention of speaking, the Emperor Shenwu sneered, "Master Xuanlu, don't you have anything to say to me?" After hearing what the Emperor Shenwu said, Xuantian slowly asked, "What?" The Emperor Shenwu narrowed his eyes slightly, and the killing power on his body became more violent, and directly turned into a wave and hit Xuantian. But the next moment, the stars in the Starry Sky Pavilion moved, and the killing power of the Emperor Shenwu calmed down instantly. Seeing this scene, the Emperor Shenwu frowned. If he was not mistaken, it should be the power of time. The power of time made his killing power return to the original state. Unexpectedly, the owner of Tianji Tower did not know how to calculate, but took the path of time. The Emperor Shenwu was most afraid of the Emperor of Time. Although the killing power was brutal, it had to be able to meet the opponent. End of this chapter. Chapter 1193 Tianji Girl is on Lu Chen and Amp. #039's side. The Emperor Shenwu once encountered an alien enemy who used the power of time in the outer domain. If his realm was not higher than the enemy, he might have died. After returning to this universe, he has not seen an emperor of the way of time. He thought that the laws of this universe did not allow the birth of an emperor of the way of time. Unexpectedly, he actually met an emperor of the way of time in Tianji Tower today. And this emperor is the owner of Tianji Tower. It's a bit interesting. The owner of Tianji Tower is quite well hidden. The Emperor Shenwu said at this time, everything that happened before the Shenyu Dynasty, I will treat it as if it never happened. If there is such a thing next time, the Shenyu dynasty and the Tianji Tower will fight to the death. Xuantian smiled faintly, and then said, I didn't know what happened in the Shenyu dynasty at the beginning, and I have sent the culprit to the Shenyu dynasty, and you should calm down. What's more, we now have a common enemy, so don't destroy our alliance because of these small things. Hearing Xuantian's words, the Emperor Shenwu snorted coldly and didn't continue the topic. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. The most important thing now is not to settle accounts with the Tianji Tower, but to find a way to break the tortoise-shell defense of the Great Xia Dynasty and to get rid of Lu Chen, the legendary Emperor of Heaven. If Lu Chen is really the Emperor of Heaven, he must die, otherwise this universe may not give birth to another Emperor of Heaven. The universe has a limit to its endurance, just like those life worlds. Each life world has rules. What kind of strong people can be born and the number of strong people are all within the laws of heaven. The same is true for the universe. The number of emperors is limited, and the Emperor of Heaven is even more so. According to the records handed down from the ancient era, the Emperor of Heaven is able to mobilize the power of the origin of the universe and has a certain possibility of rewriting the laws of the universe. Such an existence is the supreme god of a universe, and it is impossible for a second one to be born. If the Emperor Shenwu wants to take that step and become the Emperor of Heaven, he cannot let other people who may become the Emperor of Heaven get ahead of him. He must eliminate all those who have the potential to become the Emperor of Heaven, so that he can be at ease. The Emperor Shenwu asked at this time, how much do you know about the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty? Xuantian answered directly, the barrier is constructed by an immortal weapon from the outside world. Hearing this, the Emperor Shenwu was stunned. He didn't know how many years he hadn't been as shocked as today. A mortal weapon. How could this universe allow such an existence? As far as the Emperor Shenwu knew, this universe didn't even have an emperor weapon, so how could an immortal weapon suddenly appear? Even if this immortal weapon came from the outside world as Xuantian said, it is very likely that it will be squeezed out because of the laws of this universe and cannot exist in this universe forever. Xuantian said, the great catastrophe of the era is coming, and the laws of the universe are disordered, which is why the immortal weapon was left in this universe. After hearing Xuantian's explanation, Emperor Shenwu felt that this made some sense. The current universe is extremely chaotic, and the laws have become disordered. At this time, some of the laws of the universe may not be able to play a role. If this is the case, does it mean that there are other immortal weapons in this universe? Thinking of this possibility, Emperor Shenwu became hot-hearted. It is impossible to say that he is not tempted by the immortal weapon. That is an immortal weapon, an existence beyond the emperor weapon. The holy weapon in his hand is nothing in front of the immortal weapon. Emperor Shenwu said at this time, this emperor wants the immortal weapon of the Great Xia Dynasty. He didn't know whether there were other immortal weapons in this universe, but since there was an immortal weapon in the Great Xia Dynasty, he must obtain this immortal weapon after defeating the Great Xia Dynasty. Such a good thing cannot fall into the hands of others. Hearing what Emperor Shenwu said, Xuantian was silent for a moment and did not answer immediately. After a while, Xuantian said with a smile, it may not be easy to get that immortal weapon. Xuantian naturally could not leave that immortal weapon in this universe. No matter who gets the immortal weapon, it is a huge threat to him. He will not allow such an immortal weapon that can threaten his existence to exist. Although the immortal weapon is only a defensive immortal weapon. Of course, Xuantian will not say this directly. After hearing Xuantian's words, Emperor Shenwu asked, don't you have a way to destroy the barrier created by the immortal weapon? Xuantian said directly, yes. Hearing Xuantian's answer, Emperor Shenwu frowned. If even Xuantian didn't know how to destroy the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty, he might be even worse. Although he is good at killing people, he can only use brute force for things like breaking formations or barriers. The two 9th-level emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty have verified that the barrier is not so easy to break. Although his strength is stronger than that of ordinary 9th-level emperors, his strength is only relative to other 9th-level emperors. The barrier that the two 9th-level emperors could not break together, he probably couldn't break either. He originally thought that Tianji Tower had some way, so he came to find Xuantian on purpose. If Tianji Tower couldn't break the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty, then what was the need for Tianji Tower to exist? Now is not the time to turn against each other. Xuantian is the emperor of time. He doesn't know what Xuantian's methods are. He can test Xuantian's bottom first. Emperor Shenwu continued. You once said that Tianji girl's deduction ability is better than yours. I wonder if it is feasible to let Tianji girl deduce the flaws of this fairy weapon. Hearing Emperor Shenwu mention Zan Qingyan, Xuantian snorted and laughed, and then said, You may not know yet, Tianji girl is likely to stand on Lu Chen's side from the beginning. This, Emperor Shenwu's face sank instantly. Tianji girl is actually on Lu Chen's side. But then again, Xuantian's guess is not unreasonable. Since Lu Chen went to Tianqian world, he could hardly sense Lu Chen's situation. If Lu Chen hadn't run back to Shenyu Dynasty and snatched Chu Yunji, it would probably take him a long time to know that Lu Chen still had such a great ability. At that time, he suspected that Lu Chen's Tianji was hidden by Tianji Tower, so he couldn't sense Lu Chen's situation through his blood, which gave Lu Chen the opportunity to grow up. If he knew from the beginning that Lu Chen had such great abilities, the person he chose to possess would definitely be Lu Chen, not Lu Yanghua. If Tianji Nu had already figured out Lu Chen's origins, then she might have stood on Lu Chen's side from the beginning. The Emperor Shenwu snorted coldly. No wonder he wanted to find Tianji Nu to join forces to fight against the epical catastrophe again and again, but Tianji Nu refused. It turned out that she had already chosen the target to support. End of this chapter. Chapter 1194 New Conspiracy. After the Emperor Shenwu calmed down the irritable emotions, he asked, You don't know how to break the enchantment of the Xia Dynasty, and the female girl will not stand on our side. So how can we solve the threat of Lu Chen? Quote. Zan Tian was silent and did not answer directly. At this time, the starry pavilion was quiet and scary, and the stars in the starry sky continued to change the position. After Zan Tian was silent, the Emperor Shenwu did not speak anymore, and stared at Zan Tian like this. After a month's stalemate for a month, Zan Tiansai finally said, The best way to bring Lu Chen out today, as long as he can solve Lu Chen, maybe the fairy ware loses the owner, and if he has no man control, he will not control it, so he will not control it. Will automatically lift the enchantment. When he heard Zan Tian's answer, the Emperor Shenwu laughed. I thought you thought for so long, what good can I have? The Emperor Shenwu and Zan Tian thought the same, but there are many problems in this method, such as what to use to attract Lu Chen from the enchantment of the Xia Dynasty. Even if Lu Chen attracted Lu Chen from the enchantment of the Xia Dynasty, how could it be sure that it was Lu Chen's body? And one more thing is what to do if Lu Chen died, what should the enchantment continue to take effect? Of course, Lu Chen's biggest threat to them disappeared, but if the enchantment of this fairy has always existed, maybe it would bring some variables to the world. For example, there is a way to make people quickly break through the emperor in the enchantment. At that time, the people in the enchantment use the heritage left by Lu Chen, and take the lead in breaking the first step to become the emperor. This is the most worried about Shenwu Emperor. The name of Emperor Lu Chen Tian has passed out. So far, Lu Chen has not been punished by the origin of the universe. Since it is the reincarnation of the emperor, there must be some of the heritage of the emperor. No matter how bad the emperor is, there may be a chance to take that step. If Lu Chen still couldn't break the enchantment, the heritage of the Emperor of Tiandi fell into the hands of the great emperors of the Xia Dynasty, it would be troublesome. Zan Tian said, There is actually another way. Hearing Zan Tian's words, the Emperor Shenwu asked curiously, What is the way? Zan Tian said, As long as the Lu Chen can lead Lu Chen to the Xia Dynasty, there is a way to send the entire Xia Dynasty together with the immortal out of this universe. Influence. Even if Lu Chen left the opportunity of the emperor, he couldn't be obtained by the people of this universe. Hearing Zan Tian's words, the Emperor Shenwu suddenly stunned. Send this universe together with the immortal in the Xia Dynasty. What kind of power can this do? Who is Zan Tian? Can he do this? If Zan Tian can do this, I am afraid that Zantian's threat to him is not smaller than Lu Chen, and may even be the biggest threat. Thinking of this, Emperor Shenwu's heart suddenly had a strong precaution in Zantian. But now it is not to say that when this is the time, Zantian can really send the entire Xia Dynasty out of this universe. He is more powerful than now. Zantian also knew that she would cause the grandmother of the Emperor Shenwu, but there was no way. Now she can only use Shenwu Emperor. If he does not tell this method, maybe Shenwu Emperor will not cooperate with him, so that the Emperor Shenwu knows that he is capable of solving the threat of Lu Chen. Only in this way can their cooperation be further carried out. After the Emperor Shenwu returned to God, he looked at Zantian's eyes and asked, "Do you really have a way?" Zantian said faintly, "Yes." The Emperor Shenwu was first trapped into contemplation. Regardless of the threat of Zantian, the threat of Lu Chen must be solved, so it is inevitable to unite with Zantian. So what is the problem now? Emperor Shenwu suddenly thought of something, and then his serious expression on his face opened. There is a way to attract him. Zantian said, "Talk about it." The Emperor Shenwu went on to say, "Outer domain." Hearing these two words, Zantian realized what Shenwu wanted to say. If Lu Chen is the reincarnation of the Emperor, then Lu Chen will definitely want to return to the realm of the Emperor. At present, the fastest way to restore the Great Emperor's realm is to go to the outer region. There are a large number of treasures that can help people improve the realm of heaven. Essence. Emperor Shenwu continued, "If there is a treasure that can allow him to quickly recover the realm, do you say he will go?" Zantian thought for a while, and felt that this method of Shenwu had certain feasibility. Only, Zantian is very clear in his heart. It is not so easy to want to stay in Lu Chen. He didn't know how many memories of Lu Chen now recovered. If Lu Chen restored all his memories, including the memory before this universe, I am afraid that he would not lie to Lu Chen. After thinking for a while, Zantian said, "This matter is given to this seat. What kind of thing in this seat attracts him?" The Emperor Shenwu said, "Okay." He didn't doubt Zantian's words at all. Zantian was also the landlord of the Tianji building. It was impossible for this to not do this. The first level of the Emperor. The second level of the Emperor. Yun Qingshu's realm continued to rise to the sixth level of the Emperor before stopping. After feeling that her realm had recovered, Yun Qingshu suddenly thought of her clone. Since she had been in seclusion, she didn't know what happened in the outside world, nor did she know how her clone was doing now. Feeling that there was a lot of demonic power in the surrounding world, Yun Qingshu immediately guessed that the catastrophe was about to come. She had experienced the whole process of the arrival of the catastrophe in her previous life, and she knew very well that the invasion of the demons was the precursor of the era catastrophe. At this time, Yun Qingshu waved her hand, and the night sky in her world instantly turned into daytime. Yun Qingshu immediately sent a message to the elders of Xuanyu Palace, asking them to come to the Palace Master's Hall and tell her what happened in the universe during this period of time. In a moment, all the elders of Xuanyu Palace arrived, and Yun Qingshu glanced at the elders of Xuanyu Palace. At this time, the elders of Xuanyu Palace felt the terrifying pressure emanating from Yun Qingshu, and they dared not breathe. Yun Qingshu asked expressionlessly at this time, "Tell me everything that happened in the universe during this period of time." End of this chapter. Chapter 1195 Yun Qingshu and AMP, #039's experience. As soon as Yun Qingshu finished speaking, the elders of Xuanyu Palace took out all the information they had inquired about. Yun Qingshu raised his hand, and all the information of the elders floated in the air. Yun Qingshu scanned it with his spiritual sense and instantly browsed all the information. After browsing what happened in the universe, Yun Qingshu's expression was a little stiff. She didn't expect that Lu Chen and the Great Xia Dynasty had grown to this point. Even a superstar region group was annexed. At present, the Great Xia Dynasty may have become the dynasty with the largest territory. It is likely to be the dynasty with the strongest dynasty luck. Yun Qingshu thought to himself, could it be that his memory of the previous life has been restored? She always thought that Lu Chen was also a person from the last era. Now Lu Chen suddenly rose. In her opinion, it could only be that Lu Chen restored the memory of the last era, so he became so powerful. If Lu Chen is really the reincarnation of the rumored emperor, then it is probably the safest for her clone to follow Lu Chen. It would be too easy for the emperor to survive the epical catastrophe. But then again, if Lu Chen was really the reincarnation of the emperor, why hadn't she heard of him in her previous life? She remembered that the emperor didn't seem to be born in the last epoch, but there was a great emperor in the 9th level who was about to take that step, but the origin of the universe directly blasted that person to death. If Lu Chen was the emperor of the last epoch, he should have some impression of him. Before she recovered her strength, some memories were sealed. Now that she has recovered her strength, all her memories are back, but there is indeed no memory of Lu Chen. Yun Qingshu even suspected that Lu Chen was not the emperor of the last epoch. It seems that it is not impossible for the Emperor of Heaven to live for several epochs in a row. After all, the Emperor of Heaven was not born in the last epoch. But then again, these are not important. The important thing is that her clone is safe. Following the reincarnated Emperor of Heaven, it should not be a big problem to survive the epical catastrophe. Yun Qingshu even envied Yun Shenxian for having such good luck. She ran to a remote place like Tianqian World and bumped into a reincarnated emperor, and became his woman. The most important thing is that this reincarnated emperor is still loyal and righteous. Yun Qingshu didn't remember that she had accumulated so many merits in her previous life. How could her clone have such good luck? The key is that this clone was split out by herself. The luck of the clone is so good, but the luck of her main body is mediocre. Forget it, don't think about it, or hurry up and think about how to deal with this era catastrophe. Now the universe is full of demons, and the universe is becoming more and more chaotic. Wars are everywhere. I'm afraid it won't be long before those weird red filaments appear. When Yun Qingshu thought of the red filaments encountered in the last era, his body trembled uncontrollably. Those filaments can almost destroy everything they touch, whether it is a person or a high-level magic weapon, even a formation cannot be spared. Of course, nothing is absolute. The end of one cosmic era means the beginning of the next era, and there will be a handover process between the two eras. As long as you can run to the era intersection area when the era is changing, you may survive. There will be no strange filaments in the era intersection area. But it is not easy to find such an era intersection. First of all, you must ensure that you will not die in the first round of the impact of the demons. To survive the demon crisis is to prevent those strange filaments. Most of the strong men and emperors died from those strange filaments. Those filaments seem to have thoughts. They will take the initiative to find the existence of the emperor level and chase the emperor. Once the emperor is targeted by those strange filaments, there is basically no way to survive. Yun Qingshu glanced at the elders present at this time, and then said, Xuanyu Palace will move to the central star field from now on. Hearing this, the elders present were stunned. Central star field. That is the most chaotic place in the universe. Moreover, the location of the Shenyu dynasty is also in the central star region. Now the Shenyu dynasty is expanding wildly. The most important thing is that they have received intelligence that the Shenwu emperor has been resurrected. The Shenwu emperor will definitely make a bigger move next. If we run to the central star region at this time, wouldn't that be courting death? At this time, an elder stood up and said, Palace Master, you must not do that. The central star region is very chaotic now, and the Shenyu dynasty has been expanding outward. In addition, the emperor of the Shenyu dynasty has recently resurrected. If we go to the central star region at this time, we may encounter many dangers. The central star region is now a battlefield. The superpowers in the central star region have already prepared for external expansion, such as the Shenyu dynasty. Now it can be said that there is no place more dangerous than the central star region. As soon as the elder finished speaking, the other elders also echoed. Yes, Palace Master, the situation in the central star region is complicated now. We must not run to such a dangerous place at this time. Palace Master, some of the weaker forces in the central star region are running out now. Why are we going to the central star region instead? Palace Master. For a while, the hall was filled with various persuasive words. Although these elders were still very afraid of Yan Qingshu in their hearts, compared with their own lives, they had to speak out even if they were afraid. The current central star field cannot be visited. Yan Qingshu glanced at the elders present indifferently. She was not surprised at all by their cowardice. In terms of the current situation, it is indeed not suitable to go to the central star field, but she has a very important purpose in going to the central star field. According to her experience in the last era, after the beginning of the cosmic catastrophe, the closer to the center of the universe, the safer it is. And the place where the eras intersect often starts from the center of the universe, which is why there are many ancient relics in the current central star field. When the eras intersect, those ancient relics were pulled to the place where the eras intersect, and thus preserved for a while, and some survivors who survived the ancient era also chose to take root in the central star field. Now the ancient forces in the central star field are preparing to expand, not only to gain the luck of the dynasty, but also to seize more territory. When the era begins, they will be able to reach a safe place in the first time, so as to survive and successfully survive the era catastrophe. At the same time, there is another benefit to going to the central star field. Before the era catastrophe begins, there will be a demon tide, and countless demons will emerge at that time. Most of those demons are born from the edge of the universe. After the demon tide breaks out, the closer to the central star field, the safer it is. These are all Yan Qingshu's experiences. End of this chapter. Chapter 1196. Long time no see. After Yan Qingshu was reincarnated, the first thing she wanted to do was to go to the central star region, but at that time her strength was still very weak, and it was not good for her to stay in the central star region at that time. Now that her strength has been restored and she has a certain degree of self-protection, she naturally has to go to the central star region in advance to prepare for the catastrophe. No matter how dangerous the central star region is now, she has to find a force to rely on, so that she can find the place where the eras intersect. At this time, Yan Qingshu glanced at the elders present indifferently. When they felt the murderous intent released in Yan Qingshu's eyes, the elders of Xuanyu Palace immediately shut up, lowered their heads, and dared not breathe. Yan Qingshu stared at these elders indifferently for a few breaths before he said, "This palace is just notifying you, not discussing with you." Hearing Yan Qingshu's words, some elders woke up from their dreams. Now Xuanyu Palace is in the hands of their palace master, and it is no longer the force that would be affected by Lu Yangwe in the past. Besides, Lu Yangwe is dead now, and those who still want to rely on external support to seize power in Xuanyu Palace have been cleared out long ago. Moreover, their palace master has broken through to a higher realm, and no one can influence their palace master's decision. Seeing that the elders in the hall did not dare to speak, Yan Qingshu spoke again. "Go down and prepare immediately, and set off for the central star field before next month." As soon as the voice fell, Yan Qingshu's body turned into snowflakes and dissipated in the hall. When Yan Qingshu's pressure disappeared, the elders in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, their palace master did not see them, otherwise there would be many more ice sculptures in the hall today. The news that Yan Qingshu was going to move to the central star field quickly spread throughout the Xuanyu Palace and also quickly spread to the nearby star fields. Donghae's star field, Guirin World. Lu Chen's clone was wandering aimlessly on the street. Now there are clones of Lu Chen in many star fields in the universe. Lu Chen sent these clones to find out what happened in the universe. If something happened in the universe or there were signs of the beginning of a catastrophe, he could respond in advance. Donghae's star region is not far from Xuanyu Palace, which is why Lu Chen sent a clone here. Although Yan Qingshu has made it clear that Yan Shenxian is Yan Shenxian from now on, she is her, but for Lu Chen, as long as her score is over 90, she is his woman. He has basically confirmed that the women who show more than 90 points in the system are basically related to him. Now what Lu Chen has to do is to bring the women who meet the system conditions to the Tianqian world no matter where she is now or what her identity is. Yan Qingshu is naturally among them. Lu Chen's clone is here to find out about Yan Qingshu's situation. If the time is right, he is ready to take action against Yan Qingshu, even if he forcibly ties Yuan Qingshu to the Great Xia Dynasty. Just as Lu Chen was walking on the road, he suddenly found that the monks on the street were gathered in groups of 3 or 5, seemingly discussing something. Lu Chen also found a group of people and moved closer to listen to what they were saying. I didn't expect that the palace master of Xuanyu Palace would become a great emperor. This is too fast. I remember that she was not even a saint a few years ago. I don't know how she did it. Maybe she was originally a great emperor, but her strength declined for some reason. Have you heard that Xuanyu Palace is already planning to move to the Central Star region? If the palace master of Xuanyu Palace has no ability, how could she go to the Central Star region? I think so too, but I don't know which superpower she belongs to. Hearing people's discussions, Lu Chen was a little surprised. Yuan Qingshu had actually broken through to become a great emperor. So fast. Could it be that her strength was sealed before, so she looked so weak, and now her strength has just recovered? Although Lu Chen's own realm has improved very quickly, Lu Chen himself has a system, so it is natural that his realm has improved quickly. Yuan Qingshu does not have a system, and her realm can be improved so quickly, which is very likely because her realm was originally so high, but it just dropped before. But then again, Yuan Qingshu is the reincarnation of the Empress. If she continues to practice according to her original path, her realm will also improve faster than that of an ordinary emperor. However, these are irrelevant. Lu Chen fell into deep thought at this moment. Yuan Qingshu's realm has broken through to the emperor, and Yuan Qingshu has the memory of the last era. As a survivor of the last era, her strength must be not weak. It may not be an easy task to forcibly bring Yuan Qingshu back to the Great Xia Dynasty. Let's go to Xuanyu Palace to see the situation first, and then wait for an opportunity. Thinking of this, Lu Chen immediately flew towards the world where Xuanyu Palace is. 1 month later, the Xuanyu Palace collectively boarded the immortal boats and officially headed for the Central Star Field. Lu Chen hid in the distance, quietly watching the immortal boats of the Xuanyu Palace, and did not take the initiative to approach. At the same time, Yuan Qingshu, wearing a long white dress, stood on the top of the attic of a ferry boat, looking towards the direction of the Central Star Field, as if thinking about something. At this moment, Yuan Qingshu suddenly sensed something and frowned slightly. This breath was too familiar. Before she cut off her connection with Yuan Shenxian, she often smelled the breath of that guy through Yuan Shenxian's body. Yuan Qingshu was a little puzzled. How could that guy appear in this area? The next moment, Yuan Qingshu's body flashed. Seeing that Yuan Qingshu's body suddenly disappeared, Lu Chen immediately realized that he was exposed, but before his clone had time to dodge, Yuan Qingshu had already appeared in front of him. Seeing that Lu Chen in front of him was only at the saint level, Yuan Qingshu showed a trace of confusion on his face. What made Yuan Qingshu feel strange was that if the Lu Chen in front of her was just an avatar, she sensed a complete soul aura from Lu Chen, which was not like an avatar. Could it be that he had sealed his own strength and suppressed his realm to the saint realm? This was even more impossible. It was already a time when the universe was in chaos and the demons were rampant. Who would suppress their realm at this time, unless they had a brain problem? Seeing that Yuan Qingshu had been staring at him, Lu Chen took the initiative to say, "Long time no see." Chapter 1197. They are destined to return to me. Hearing Lu Chen's greeting, Yuan Qingshu came back to her senses. She asked directly, "Why is your realm so low?" Lu Chen smiled and replied, "This is just one of my clones." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Yuan Qingshu was slightly stunned. A clone? The soul of a clone is so complete that there is no flaw at all. How is this possible? All of Lu Chen's clones are controlled by one soul, so the soul is naturally complete. Of course, Yuan Qingshu doesn't know this. In the current universe, only Lu Chen can do this. It is normal that others can't tell whether Lu Chen is a clone or the main body. After all, Lu Chen has no so-called clones, and they can all be regarded as the main body. After Yuan Qingshu came back to her senses, she didn't continue on this topic. It didn't matter whether Lu Chen in front of her was a clone or the main body. She just wanted to know what this guy was doing here. Then Yuan Qingshu asked coldly, what are you doing here? Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a kind smile. You are Shenxian's master. Now the universe has become so chaotic and dangerous. She is very worried about you, so I came to see you in person and invite you to join the Great Xia Dynasty. Lu Chen planned to try to see if the soft approach would work. If he could directly invite Yan Qingshu to join the Great Xia Dynasty, it would save a lot of trouble. But Lu Chen didn't think Yan Qingshu would agree. Just as Lu Chen thought, Yan Qingshu immediately refused as soon as he finished speaking. I advise you to give up this idea. Yan Qingshu was Yan Shenxian's main body after all. The two of them had connected their consciousness together. Yan Qingshu knew very well what kind of person Lu Chen was. This man came to invite her to join the Great Xia Dynasty. What a joke, he wanted to make her a member of her harem. Seeing Yan Qingshu refused, Lu Chen was not discouraged. After all, this was what he had expected from the beginning. Lu Chen continued, I heard that you are planning to go to the Central Star region. The Central Star region is now full of dangers. Those superpowers and top powers may break out at any time. If you run over there now, you may be in danger of death. Once the melee between the top powers begins, the emperors will be cannon fodder. It is better to come to the Great Xia Dynasty. Besides, Shenxian is also in the Great Xia Dynasty. Look, she is living well in the Great Xia Dynasty. Yan Qingshu said expressionlessly, I know what you are thinking. I advise you to put away your little thoughts. It is precisely because my second body is in the Great Xia Dynasty that it is even more impossible for me to go to the Great Xia Dynasty. Hearing this, Lu Chen asked in confusion, why is that? Yan Qingshu said coldly, after separation, one of me and my second body can always survive the catastrophe. Lu Chen instantly understood what Yan Qingshu meant. She was thinking that if they encountered some unavoidable danger, and the two were not together, only one would die, and the other would always survive. There is nothing wrong with this idea, but then again, the two of them have already cut off the connection. The main body is the main body, and the secondary body is the secondary body. Yan Qingshu still said that eggs cannot be put in one basket. Lu Chen didn't know that Yan Qingshu had planned this from the beginning. Even though she had broken the spiritual connection with Yan Shenxian, in Yan Qingshu's heart, Yan Shenxian was still her secondary body. In her opinion, as long as one of her and Yan Shenxian could survive the catastrophe, she would not be considered dead. Lu Chen continued, you should know that the Great Xia Dynasty has a barrier that can withstand the full force of the 9-layer realm emperor. Compared with the Central Star region, the Great Xia Dynasty is safer. Yan Qingshu asked, you are also a survivor of the ancient era. Don't you know that there will be a place where the eras intersect in the Central Star region? Hearing Yan Qingshu's question, Lu Chen was stunned. The place where the eras intersect. What is that? Even in his previous life's memory of the Emperor of Heaven, it seems that this term has never appeared, right? Lu Chen asked curiously, what is that place? Seeing that Lu Chen actually asked what the place where the eras meet is, Yan Qingshu paused. This man really didn't know what the place where the eras meet is. Then how did he survive from the ancient era? Yan Qingshu didn't answer Lu Chen's question immediately, but asked, how did you survive from the ancient era? Lu Chen answered directly, I was the Emperor of Heaven in the last era, and I used my body to resist the great calamity of the era. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Yan Qingshu fell into silence. Others have tried every method to avoid the great calamity of the era, and in the end only a very few lucky people found the place where the eras meet and survived, and the man in front of him actually used his body to resist the power that destroyed an era. Is this the Emperor of Heaven? Yan Qingshu suddenly thought of something and continued to ask. I remember that there seemed to be no heavenly emperor in the last era. Lu Chen said, I became the heavenly emperor when the era catastrophe was about to begin. Maybe you were already dealing with the era catastrophe at that time, so you didn't know. What Lu Chen said was not unreasonable. Yan Qingshu didn't continue to dwell on this. She continued to ask, how much strength has your main body recovered? Lu Chen replied, it seems to be the 5th or 6th level of the Great Emperor. Yan Qingshu fell into deep thought. Lu Chen saw from her hesitant look that she was already tempted. After all, this was the blessing of the Heavenly Emperor. Following a Heavenly Emperor was better than finding a way to survive on her own. Even if there really is a place where the eras intersect in the central star field, Yun Qingshu can't find it in the first place. After a while, Yun Qingshu asked, "Did the people around you survive in the last era?" This, Yun Qingshu's question stumped Lu Chen. He was the Emperor of Heaven, and he could resist the power of destroying the era. But because of the change in the laws of the universe, the people around him eventually died. He could only use the power of the Emperor of Heaven to protect the souls of some people so that they could reincarnate in the new era. Seeing Lu Chen hesitate, Yun Qingshu knew that Lu Chen did not protect the people around him. In other words, even if Lu Chen became the Emperor of Heaven, he could only protect himself and not others, so there was no point in following Lu Chen, the Emperor of Heaven. He still had to rely on himself to find a way to survive. Lu Chen said at this time, "I can protect your souls and let you reincarnate in the new era." Yun Qingshu said lightly, "No need." Then Yun Qingshu turned and left. She came here just to see what this man wanted to do. Since she already knew his purpose, there was no need to waste time with him. Seeing Yun Qingshu's graceful back, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Maybe you don't know yet, all the women related to me were my wives and concubines in the previous life, and they are destined to return to my side." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Yun Qingshu stopped immediately. She stood there, neither looking back nor speaking. Her brows were furrowed, as if she was thinking about something. Chapter 1198 Ridiculous, How come I didn't know there was a heavenly emperor in the last era? Yun Qingshu naturally understood what Lu Chen said. Yun Shenxian is now Lu Chen's woman, and Yun Shenxian is her second body. Lu Chen means that she is also his woman in the previous life, that is, in the last era. But this is simply impossible. There was no memory of Lu Chen in her memory of the last era. But Yun Qingshu couldn't doubt Lu Chen's words, because she had always had a feeling that she seemed to be very familiar with Lu Chen. When she learned that Lu Chen had defiled her second body, she ran over from such a distance, but in the end she still didn't attack Lu Chen. There was that reason. That sense of familiarity made her unable to attack Lu Chen. Seeing that Yun Qingshu had no reaction, Lu Chen continued, "You may not have recovered your previous memories, your memories are all sealed in the stone of reincarnation." After hearing this, Yun Qingshu couldn't help it anymore. She did feel this way. She felt that she had lost some memories in the last era, but she couldn't remember what she had lost. Yun Qingshu then turned his head and looked at Lu Chen coldly. "How do you prove it?" Lu Chen said, "It is impossible to prove now. Only after the reincarnation stone is unsealed can I prove that what I said is true." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Yun Qingshu ignored Lu Chen and turned around and left again. Since Lu Chen cannot prove it, then just pretend that Lu Chen is fooling her. She has long known through Yun Shenxian what kind of man Lu Chen is. This man's words are the most unreliable. He could use any means to sleep until the woman he wanted to sleep. Who knew whether Lu Chen had lied to her just now? Today, the Great Xia Dynasty has a barrier that even the Emperor of the Nine Realm cannot break. If he goes to the Great Xia Dynasty, it is called Tiantian's Rebellion, or the earth is not effective, and he is at the mercy of Lu Chen. Seeing Yun Qingshu leaving so decisively, Lu Chen sighed slightly. It seemed that he had to use other means, but it was not easy to use tough means to bring Yun Qingshu back. Forget it, take a look at it step by step. In this way, Lu Chen watched Yun Qingshu lead everyone in Xuanyu Palace to the central star field. Of course, Lu Chen did nothing. His clone could be used to monitor Yun Qingshu's every move. After the immortal boat from Xuanyu Palace went to the central star field, Lu Chen immediately took out a large ship from the space ring. The immortal boat eliminated by the Xia Dynasty, then disguised as an ordinary force, followed behind the immortal boat of Xuanyu Palace. However, Yun Qingshu is not a fool either. Lu Chen's ferry boat is too obvious. On the immortal boat in Xuanyu Palace, Yun Qingshu was meditating and practicing in his room. At this time, an elder came to the door. "Palace Master, we have been following an immortal boat. Do we need to solve it?" Hearing this, Yun Qingshu's eyes didn't open, and she said coldly, "Don't pay attention and let him follow." Yun Qingshu thought to herself that as she thought, she would not give up until this man was sleeping. Since he wants to follow, let him follow him all the time, it won't affect her anyway. Afterwards, Lu Chen's Saint Realm clone also followed Xuanyu Palace to the central star field. In the central star field, a huge continent is suspended in the void, and the continent is full of heaven and earth, as huge as dozens of higher worlds. A golden barrier is shrouded outside the continent. This barrier is enough to withstand the attack of the Emperor of the 9-level realm. Of course, this barrier is incomparable to the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty. The Emperor of the 9-level realm takes several more attacks. This barrier can also be broken. However, ordinary emperors at the 9-level realm dare not attack this place. In the center of this continent, there is a loft of several thousand meters, stacked with layers of attics, with countless rooms and corridors. At the top of the attic, clouds and mist were shrouded in mist and cranes were roaring together, just like a fairyland. On a terrace at the top of the attic, a man with flames suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes looked into the void, as if he had seen something. But after a while, the man sighed deeply. "It's true that it's not possible." The Lord of Nirvana sighed. He has been stuck in the 9th level of the Emperor for many years. After the era was updated, it took him less than 100,000 years to break through to the 9th level of the Emperor. As a result, the great catastrophe of the era is about to begin, and he is still the 9th level of the Emperor. Even his deadline is coming. He could already feel the power of the universe, but he just felt that he was almost unable to take that step. Just now, he felt the power of the original universe again. He was about to take that step, but the feeling of breakthrough in the end still disappeared. After the Lord of Nirvana opened his eyes, he directly sent a message. "Poyan, has there been any major incidents in the universe recently?" He has been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, and he knows about the great disaster of the era. After all, the voice transmission of Tianjimian girl directly entered his ears, and even the Emperor who was in seclusion could hear it. However, the Lord of Nirvana did not know anything about what was beyond the great catastrophe. After the Lord of Nirvana finished speaking, a middle-aged man in blue clothes appeared in front of Lord of Nirvana. The man knelt down and said, "Welcome to the ancestor out of seclusion." The Lord of Nirvana waved his hand lightly. "Tell me what happened in the universe." The great catastrophe of the era is about to begin, and the Emperor of Divine Martial Arts is probably about to be unable to sit still. The Lord of Nirvana knew that the Emperor Shenwu proved his Tao by killing. For the Emperor Shenwu, the best way to take that step and the fastest way is probably endless killing. The Holy Land of Nirvana is also in the Central Star region. Once the Shenyu dynasty expands, it will inevitably collide with the Holy Land of Nirvana in the future. After hearing the words of the Lord of Nirvana, the Emperor Poyan said, "Ancestor, the biggest threat to us in the universe now is probably not the Shenyu dynasty." Hearing this, the Lord of Nirvana was stunned for a moment. Not the Shenyu dynasty. The Emperor Shenwu proved his Tao by killing, and he was a killing emperor of the 9th level. Even their old-fashioned top holy lands dared not provoke him. How could he not be the biggest threat to the Emperor Shenwu? The Lord of Nirvana frowned and asked, "Is there anyone more powerful than the Emperor of Shenwu?" Emperor Poyan said directly, "Emperor Shenwu has a son who is rumored to be the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven in the ancient era. He founded a dynasty on the edge of the universe. Under his leadership, the dynasty expanded rapidly and annexed the entire Lingzhou superstar region. Now the Great Xia Dynasty is the dynasty with the largest territory in the universe." After Emperor Poyan finished speaking, the Lord of Nirvana laughed. "How ridiculous. How come I didn't know that there was an Emperor of Heaven in the last era?" The Lord of Nirvana himself was a survivor of the last era. In the last era, until the catastrophe came, he had never heard of anyone taking that step. In this era, there was actually a reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. Chapter 1199. Let's find a way to deal with him first. Seeing that the Lord of Nirvana did not believe it, Emperor Poyan continued, we cannot confirm whether Lu Chen is the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, but the Great Xia Dynasty he founded has a very powerful barrier that even the Emperor of the 9 layers cannot break. The Lord of Nirvana still said disdainfully, the barrier of our Holy Land can also resist the attack of the Emperor of the 9 layers. The Lord of Nirvana came from the last era, so he could never believe that there is a reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. As for the barrier mentioned, as long as it is the barrier of those ancient holy lands, it can basically resist the attack of the Emperor of the 9 layers. What's new about this? The Lord of Nirvana did not understand why Emperor Poyan would bring up such a thing. Seeing the Lord of Nirvana's disdainful look, Emperor Poyan added, Emperor Yahun and Emperor Xuanlin tried every means to break the barrier but failed. Hearing Emperor Poyan's supplement, the Lord of Nirvana frowned immediately. Emperor Yahun and Emperor Xuanlin are the right-hand men of Emperor Shenwu. Although they are not as powerful as Emperor Shenwu, they are also ranked at the top among the emperors of the 9 layers in the universe. Even the barriers of those top holy places, including the barrier of the Nirvana Holy Land, cannot withstand the continuous bombardment of the strong men of the level of Emperor Xuanlin and Emperor Yahun. Sooner or later, there will be a day when the barrier will crack. But then again, the barrier is the barrier. Even if the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty is so strong, the Lord of Nirvana does not believe that Lu Chen is the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. Perhaps the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty was obtained by Lu Chen from those aliens in the outer domain. Some aliens in the outer domain have various means, and it is not surprising that there are formations that can resist the Emperor of the 9 layers. Thinking of this, the Lord of Nirvana continued, let's continue talking about Lu Chen. Emperor Poyan did not speak immediately. He organized all the information about Lu Chen into a memory bead, and then transferred the memory bead from his brain. After seeing the blue memory bead floating in front of him, the Lord of Nirvana did not hesitate and directly scanned the information in the entire memory bead with his divine mind. After reading the contents of the memory bead, the Lord of Nirvana frowned. This Lu Chen seemed to have something. If it was just the barrier of the Great Xia Dynasty, it would be nothing, but Lu Chen was able to grow up in such a short time and annex the entire Lingzhou superstar domain group. This is indeed impossible without some strength. Thinking of the dynasty's luck, the Lord of Nirvana suddenly had a brain startle. He said why he was about to take that step, and suddenly his way was blocked again. There were rumors in the last era that only one heavenly emperor could be born in a universe. When a person's luck is already very strong, the possibility of this person becoming a heavenly emperor will be greater. Once this person's luck is too strong, it will cut off the path of other emperors to become heavenly emperors. The Lord of Nirvana now feels that it was Lu Chen who cut off his path to becoming a heavenly emperor. After thinking of this possibility, the Lord of Nirvana's face darkened. He didn't expect that he had only been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, and a genius with such terrible potential was born in this era. This Lu Chen must not survive. Compared with the Emperor Shenwu, his threat is indeed greater. Seeing that the Lord of Nirvana fell into silence, Emperor Poyan asked, Ancestor, what should we do now? The Lord of Nirvana thought for a while, and then said, since Lu Chen is the biggest threat, let's find a way to get rid of him first. The Shenyu dynasty and Tianji Tower are probably discussing how to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty. We can send envoys to Tianji Tower and Shenyu dynasty to inquire about the news. Although Emperor Shenwu is also a threat to the Lord of Nirvana, Lu Chen's rise is too fast. It has taken him less than 1,000 years to grow to this point, which is faster than the development of Nirvana Holy Land. If the Great Xia Dynasty continues to expand and Lu Chen continues to grow, then I am afraid that the position of the Emperor of Heaven will really fall to Lu Chen, which is absolutely not allowed. So Lu Chen must die. Only when Lu Chen dies can Nirvana Holy Land feel at ease to deal with Emperor Shenwu. The most important thing is that the Lord of Nirvana also found a more serious problem in the memory bead of Emperor Poyan. Lu Chen has been calling himself the Emperor of Heaven for a long time, but the heavenly Tao of this universe has never punished him. If other emperors dared to call themselves the Emperor of Heaven, they would have been destroyed by the heavenly Tao long ago. From this point of view, even if Lu Chen is not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, he has the potential to become the Emperor of Heaven. It can be said that he is a seed of the Emperor of Heaven, so the heavenly Tao of this universe did not touch him. This is very unfair to other emperors. Others are trying to take that step, but Lu Chen is not even a 9th-level emperor, but he has been determined to be the Emperor of Heaven by the will of this universe. From this point of view alone, the Lord of Nirvana is not convinced, so no matter what, this Lu Chen must disappear from this universe. The Lord of Nirvana then asked Emperor Poyan to send envoys to Tianji Tower and Shenyu Dynasty, intending to join forces with them to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty. There are no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. For now, getting rid of Lu Chen is the core interest of the Lord of Nirvana. After getting rid of Lu Chen, we can then think of a way to deal with the Shenyu Dynasty. Time flies, and several years have passed. Xuanyu Palace successfully moved to the central star field and settled in an edge star field of the central star field. Now the edge star field of the central star field is not as lively as before. In the past, even in the edge star field, there were immortal boats coming and going. Today, there are only a few immortal boats scattered around, and the whole void looks very deserted and empty. The top forces in the central star field are preparing for war. Some weaker forces know that they can only be cannon fodder if they stay, so they simply stay away from the central star field. Of course, basically all small forces don't know about the place where the eras intersect, so they choose to stay away from this place of right and wrong. Those top forces are different, especially those ancient holy places. Even if their strength is not ranked, they have no intention of leaving the central star field. The atmosphere of war has enveloped the entire central star region. Red Rain World. In a tavern, Lu Chen's clone sat in the tavern drinking, listening to the monks in the tavern discussing the Nirvana Holy Land. End of this chapter. Chapter 1200. The Movement of the Holy Land of Nirvana. Have you heard that Nirvana Holy Land has planned to form an alliance with Tianji Tower and Shenyu Dynasty? Is it true? Isn't Nirvana Holy Land a top force? How could they form an alliance with Tianji Tower and Shenyu Dynasty? Oh my god, what do these three top forces want to do by forming an alliance? Could it be that they want to deal with those old holy places in the central star region? That's not the case. I heard that they are forming an alliance to deal with the Great Xia Dynasty. Come to think about it, the Great Xia Dynasty is now in its heyday. It is now the dynasty with the largest territory in the universe. I am afraid that the Great Xia Dynasty has the strongest luck. In addition, there is a reincarnated heavenly emperor. The Great Xia Dynasty is indeed the biggest threat to them. Hearing the discussions of the monks in the tavern, Lu Chen drank and thought. Now that his reputation has grown, he is afraid that more top forces will form an alliance with the Shenyu Dynasty to deal with him in the future. Of course, these are all minor matters. As long as they cannot break the barrier created by the fairy umbrella, even if they unite more top forces, they will not pose a threat to the Great Xia Dynasty. However, the Emperor Shenwu and his men should have known the strength of this barrier. Since they have united, they cannot sit and wait for death. They must be planning something. I just don't know what plans they have against the Great Xia Dynasty now. While Lu Chen was thinking about this question, the cultivators in the restaurant continued to discuss. To be honest, I actually feel that the alliance of several top forces may not be aimed at directly dealing with the Great Xia Dynasty. Hearing the words of this cultivator, the cultivator next to him asked curiously, "Why do you say that?" The cultivator replied, "I heard that there is a passage in the outer universe. Because of the existence of that passage, countless treasures have entered the outer world, among which there are treasures that can allow the 9-layer realm emperor to break through. The alliance of several top forces of the Shenyu Dynasty may be to enter the outer world for exploration. Of course, it is also to guard against the Great Xia Dynasty. After all, the current Great Xia Dynasty is not an ordinary force. No one can say whether the Great Xia Dynasty has any other means." Hearing what the cultivator said, Lu Chen's brain paused, and then he put down the bowl in his hand and asked the cultivator at the next table, "Daoyu, is everything you said true?" Hearing the sudden voice, the cultivator was stunned for a moment, but he reacted quickly. The next moment, the cultivators at that table all looked at Lu Chen. When they saw the saintly rhyme emanating from Lu Chen, they were not very surprised. This is already the edge of the central star field. Although there are not saints running all over the streets, there are still some saints occasionally appearing in the crowd. Let alone saints, even quasi-emperors and great emperors, the cultivators have seen many of them. The cultivator immediately stood up and said, to reply to the senior, these news are all heard by the juniors from other places, and it is impossible to verify the truth or falsehood. However, Tianji Tower and Shenyu Dynasty have indeed been dispatching troops recently. It seems that there is something big going on. Lu Chen said, I see, it's okay, I just asked casually. Lu Chen thought to himself, if there is really a channel to other universes in the outer domain, then can he use the cross-border stone to leave this universe directly? The cross-border stone rewarded by the system should be used in this place, right? Then he must go to join in the fun. Thinking of this, Lu Chen's main body immediately convened a cultivator conference in the Great Xia Dynasty. However, this time, the cultivator conference only involved people at the level of great emperors. Tianqian World, Tiandi Palace. The Heavenly Emperor Palace is magnificent and majestic. There are hundreds of huge pillars made of fairy gold in the palace. The roof of the entire Heavenly Emperor Palace is hundreds of meters high. People in the palace seem very small. This palace was built specifically for the emperors to hold meetings, so it is naturally built in a magnificent manner. At this moment, the emperors of the Great Xia Dynasty, except for those on duty, have basically arrived. Even the emperors on duty have sent their clones to participate in this cultivator conference. Since the construction of the Heavenly Emperor Palace, this is the first time that Lu Chen has convened a cultivator conference at the emperor level. It is obvious that there is something important. At this time, Lu Chen's figure appeared on the throne above. After seeing Lu Chen appear, the emperors in the palace saluted in unison, greetings to the Heavenly Emperor. Lu Chen said lightly, no need to salute. Then the emperors in the palace stood up and looked at Lu Chen, waiting for Lu Chen to talk about things. Lu Chen glanced at the emperors in the hall and saw the number. Now the number of emperors in the Great Xia Dynasty has exceeded 80. If these emperors use the spirit gathering array together, it is enough for him to have strength close to or even surpass the Heavenly Emperor. He must explore the outer domain. However, if there are only a few dozen emperors, what should be done if something happens in the Great Xia Dynasty? Although the Great Xia Dynasty is now protected by the barrier of the fairy umbrella and is very safe, no one can say whether the Tianji Tower will find a way to break it. Seeing that Lu Chen was slow to speak, Emperor Lei Ting asked curiously, I wonder what the Heavenly Emperor summoned us for this time. Lu Chen came back to his senses and then said, I heard that the Nirvana Holy Land has also formed an alliance with the Shenyu Dynasty. Hearing this, the emperors in the hall were stunned. Nirvana Holy Land. That is one of the oldest holy lands in this era. Hasn't Nirvana Holy Land always had a bad relationship with the Shenyu Dynasty? Why did it suddenly form an alliance with the Shenyu Dynasty? Top-level old brand holy lands like Nirvana Holy Land basically look down on the Shenyu Dynasty, and even have great hostility towards the Shenyu Dynasty, especially towards the Shenwu Emperor. For those 9-layered emperors who have lived for who knows how many years, the cultivation talent of the Shenwu Emperor is really terrible, and he has always been the most likely 9-layered emperor to take that step before Lu Chen appeared. There were rumors in the past that some old branded Holy Lands were ready to join forces to deal with the Shenyu Dynasty and eliminate the war element of the Shenwu Emperor. As a result, Nirvana Holy Land is now cooperating with the Shenyu Dynasty. At this time, an emperor in the hall said, Is Nirvana Holy Land going to deal with your majesty? Lu Chen called himself the Emperor of Heaven. He did not have the strength of the Emperor of Heaven, but he called himself the Emperor of Heaven. This was obviously a bit too high profile. The key is that Lu Chen has basically been recognized by the Heavenly Tao. Those emperors who have been stuck in the 9th level will definitely be dissatisfied after seeing Lu Chen's situation. Lu Chen said at this time, It is possible, but I have heard of another possibility. There are rumors in the Central Star region that there is a passage to other universes in the outer domain, and many treasures have entered the outer domain through that passage, and there are even treasures that can make people break through to the heavenly emperor. Hearing this, the hall immediately discussed it. End of this chapter. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.